Well, hello everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to the hockey. Whoop. Sorry, hold on. I've got connection issues that are just killing me at the moment. Okay, there we go. The Hockey Podcast Network live stream, folks. Taken over by yours truly, Chance Watson and Aaron Larson of the Dusty Bender podcast. We would normally have our co-host with us, Taylor Wells, but Taylor was actually, this is completely a true story. Taylor, his house was raided last night. And you know what they found out, Aaron?
What did they find?
He is Fanatics.
Oh, okay.
This whole time. Like Taylor has been, you'd think it's a major company or something, out of China. And no, it's just been Taylor consistently underbidding everyone.
Yep.
With a little sweatshop in his basement. Which
making all the see-through baseball pants.
Which to me really explains a lot.
It really does.
It almost explains pretty much everything about Fanatics. Why is this guy's name spelled wrong? Why are the pants see-through? It all leads back to Taylor is Fanatics.
Do you follow the Fanatics Sucks Twitter account?
Yes, and if you are on the live stream right now and you do not,
it's incredible. Yeah.
Yes, please follow. We're not sponsored by them or anything like that. We'll give shout outs when shout outs are due. And the Fanatics Sucks Twitter account is absolutely terrific. They do a very good job of bringing to light, not that you need to, like everybody seems to have a great time of taking shots at Fanatics. So it's not that big a deal. But there's a whole Twitter page dedicated to just showing like the absolute failures of Fanatics and their great quality products.
Yeah, can't wait for them to bring that quality to see how they screw up NHL jerseys next year. It's gonna be great.
Man, we're already seeing it. Like we've seen it with the MLB because they've been rolling that stuff out.
It's been bad.
Like I did see on Twitter someone was trying to defend the see-through pants. Like apparently that always happens and it's just the lighting and blah blah blah. Donnell, welcome back, man. He's our uniform aficionado.
Yeah.
Donnell probably like stays awake at night staring at the seat. Like Fanatics taking over jerseys has got to be like his hell.
It's just so bad. Like there was a clip of, I think it was Cal Raleigh of the Mariners. He's like doing an interview and it's just like, you can just straight up see, like there's like, there have been pictures of like, I forget who it was on the Giants. And it's like, you can just see that dude's junk. Like, It's just crazy. Like they're so bad. And there was another guy, I forget his name, on the Mariners. He posted a picture and he's like, it's like his first time seeing his name on a professional jersey. So he's like he posts about it. He's super excited. And everyone's dunking on it because the letters are off centered and whatever. And the Fanatics support commented on it. Like, hey, sorry, we're going to work to make this right. As if it was like an order. And it was like, oh yeah, no, like he's a professional athlete. This is not like, yeah, it was real bad. Like, so it's been a mess. And I think the PA has made some comments about it. I know some players have made some off the record comments about how much they hate it. Like, so it's been a mess and it's going to be a mess when the NHL does it. So like,
I'm really hopeful that there's some sort, like Gary Bettman's not stupid. I think that despite what we may think, Gary Bettman is not stupid. He's a lawyer first and a human being second. So I think if he sees that this will lose money, like if the quality, it's Gary Bettman's only willing to take so much. Like when people hated board ads, he didn't care because at the end of the day, he felt that it wasn't that big of a deal and the costs outweighed, and to his credit, this year, the board ads have not been bad. It gets, it's a little jarring so like right now, by the way, puck drop, we're 18-23 into the first period with the Devils and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Really, really critical game for both teams here. Tampa trying to kind of solidify themselves into that second wild card spot. The Devils pretty much hanging on for dear life. I'm not saying this is a must win for the Devils, but god damn, man. Aaron, do you got standings?
Yeah, the Devils are 5 points out with 2 games in hand.
Okay, so this game's pretty fucking vital.
It's very crucial for the Devils.
Oh, absolutely.
And Kucherov on 100-point watch. He's at 98. So
it's pretty good, man. And
it's nuts.
The Lightning are just, like I think they're still trying to hold on to what they have been.
Yep.
But God, it's just how hockey works. It's going to get harder and harder every year. Got to re-sign good players and got to find a way to bring in young talent. And the Lightning have traded away their young talent for the last 10 years. So
like which is what they should do, right? Like they have a core that's won cups. You want as many kicks as they can. But the thing that's interesting about the Lightning's cap situation is the guys they have signed long term. Like they have Kucherov and Point, but then it's like Anthony Cirelli, Nick Paul signed through 2030, Brandon Hagel signed through 2030, Eric Chernak signed through 2030. Like, so a lot of the guys that they have signed long term are their depth guys. And so they don't have, like, for example, like it's been talked about a lot this year, like Stamkos, he's a UFA this year. So like, what are you going to do with him? You got to Victor Hedman only has he's got 2 years left on his deal. So like,
I can't see him going anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see how they're going to handle it. But yeah, like a lot of the moves they've made in the last couple of years has been getting depth guys at a reasonable number and then supplementing that number with term. And so that you end up,
I feel like they're going to get hit with it's going to be a Pittsburgh Fields situation. Like they're going to have the feels and they're not going to want to dump Stammer. It's like, if you're sitting here cold and calculated like that, I mean, Pittsburgh should be trading Crosby right now, but they're not going to do that. So, in any case, back to the jerseys, because I went off on a fucking tangent. I'm hoping that Gary Bettman, he's smart enough and clever enough to know that, like, if the quality of the product is so bad that it's going to reduce jersey sale, like, I'm not the accountant of the NHL. I don't know how much percentage of money makes, like, I'm assuming jersey sales go to the teams, right? Like, that doesn't go to the NHL.
I don't know how that revenue gets split.
I would assume that it's a significant amount, though. Like the fact that during the pandemic, Gary Bettman came up with this amazing idea of, let's just randomly make a new third jersey for the next 3 years to supplement some lost income. Brilliant tactic for those reverse retros. But in any case, I'm hoping that maybe there's like a clause in the deal that they sign with Fanatics that they can get out of it if things just absolutely go off the rails. Like if professional uniforms are looking bad, like, God forbid what we're gonna get, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were some that were like, I think there was one I saw last year that it was being sold in the Red Wings shop, but they had messed up an Yzerman jersey that was being sold in Detroit. I remember seeing that on the Fanatics Ducks Twitter account. So like, it's gonna be a mess, but it is what it is. And if it gets to the point, I mean, really, like at the end of the day, if it gets to the point where like the PA has to step in, and like Marty Walsh is not going to let the the players go out there in like knockoff jerseys, right? Like he seems to have enough teeth to where, like, if it gets to that point, and we're seeing that with like other issues like the Arizona arena situation, like he's not afraid to go toe to toe with Gary Bettman. And so if the jerseys come out and they're garbage, like they've been for the MLB, like there's going to be some kind of pushback from the players.
I would assume so. They don't want to be looking like morons out there.
No, it's bad for everybody, right? Like it's bad for the people that want to sell jerseys. It's bad for the guys that gotta wear them, right? So what are you going to do?
Jared coming in, Hampus Lindholm. I didn't know he was hurt.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that either.
I hadn't, so we'll have to take a look at that. Jared, Kraken, thank you. We are definitely Kraken fans on our show, but they're not doing so well. I think Aaron and I were just talking about it before the mics went hot. Like that game last night against Minnesota was kind of, again, it's still a little early. Like it's not necessarily like do or die, but that game last night against Minnesota was very indicative that they're just not a playoff team. So in our personal opinion, we love the Kraken, but it's not, they should probably solve the deadline.
Yep. Yeah. I don't, Minnesota just like, they won't die. Like I keep thinking that they're just gonna fade, and then Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson and Matt Zuccarello just decided to go nuclear and like drag that team kicking and screaming into playoff relevancy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they're 7-2-1 in their last 10.
It's weird, but you know, like when you're a fan of those teams, like it's kind of like the Philly situation, right? Like, you know, you should sell. Like Philly to buy right now and like make a push would be just so detrimental to the long-term development of that team. I know that Minnesota's kind of in a different boat, but at the same time, like up until very recently, Minnesota's like, oh, this team is not making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like we should probably we should at least retool. God, definitely don't buy at the deadline. And now, but like when teams make these like last minute half-hearted pushes, it kind of throws a wrench into everything.
Yeah, I could see Minnesota just kind of standing pat. The only deal that I really think they should make is, and it's his call, but trading Fleury, like getting something for Fleury, sending him to a contender. But for the most part, like the core of the team, with a couple notable exceptions, are all pretty young. Like Matt Boldy's only 22, Kaprizov's only 26, like Eriksson Ek is 27. Like Rossi's 22. Like there's some guys on this team that I don't think you're not in a hurry. Like a window's not closing.
No.
And kind of like the big story with them is like,
let's be honest, it's not your year. Like
no. And you've got 2 more years of the worst of the dead cap buyout in 25-26. It goes from 14 million to just under 2.
Oh, that's
so you have 2 more years of where you're really playing with one hand tied behind your back, and then you can start opening up the wallet a little bit. So I don't like they're not in. I don't think the situation is as dire as a lot of, like, right now. If anything, they're just overperforming, and so I you just ride it out for the next 2 years, and then you can see where you're at, and then your young guys have had a chance. Like Faber's got a couple more years under his belt, then you can start building around those guys. But I don't hate where Minnesota is. The fact that they've been this competitive with $15 million in dead cap money is kind of insane.
I think you start in Minnesota, and then we'll move on to the actual teams that we're streaming about. But
right.
But I think Minnesota's start, and I hate to say this because I absolutely love this guy. I'm in that weird camp of like the Norris Trophy should go to the actually best defenseman in the league, not just the one who scores the most points. I know, shocking, right? And I say that because I'm a big admirer of Jared Spurgeon, not just because he played in Spokane, but
Jared Spurgeon rocks.
Jared Spurgeon's awesome. Like Jared Spurgeon is a good all-around defenseman. There are years where I think he should have definitely deserved Norris consideration just because he's a good, well-rounded player. Probably a little too defensive defenseman for the Norris, but like he does have moments where he can jump into the play and quarterback an offense. So I love the guy. That all being said, just pumping his tires, it might be time to trade him. That could spark.
I mean, he's hurt for this. I think he's out for the rest of the year. So like that's maybe. And like, he's, God, I didn't realize Spurgeon's 34. He's older than I thought he was.
He's old. Yeah, he is probably not in the Minnesota short-term plan.
No, he's not.
He is not going to, there's no one last kick at the can with him in Minnesota. I think that ship has sailed. He's had his years where they could have made something happen and it just didn't happen. So
he does have a no move, so he does have some say. So you got to work on that, but that's not impossible. You can
and if he wants to finally try to win a cup, whoever that defenseman was just absolutely blew a tire.
Oh talk about this game for a little bit. Yeah, the Jersey power play looking good, and then immediately gives up a shorthanded breakaway by blowing a tire on the
2-on-1. What a fucking nightmare. Yeah. So talking about the Devils for a second, like this was a team that we all kind of pegged as going to take a step, and taking a step for a team means lots of different stuff from team to team. My growing up a Red Wings fan, like taking a step for the Red Wings is making the playoffs. Like that's it. Devils on the other hand were definitely I mean, I don't want to say cup favorites, but like we all thought that they were gonna do it, make a run, So my question to you, Aaron, is it too late? Like they should have already gotten a new goalie already, right?
I mean, I feel like I've been saying for like a year and a half that they're a goalie away, right? Like
no, but Mackenzie Blackwood was gonna work.
Well, yeah, and they went in with and granted, like they were like 100-point team last year with Vitek Vanacek and Akir Schmid, right? So that's fine, but when you're going in with that as your goaltending tandem, this team was like a dark horse cup pick based on what they had last year.
Kulish is still 0-0.
Yeah, and so you just ran it back and hoped that would be enough, and it clearly hasn't been. I mean, like by the goal saved above expected, Vanacek has been one of, if not the worst goalies in the league, and Schmid has not had a good season. And like all the goalies they've rolled out it just hasn't worked. Like they need to find something, and so I don't know. It might be tough for them to make a move at the deadline just because of the way their caps, like their contracts are sorted out. Like they don't have a lot of extra money to spend. But they got to make something. Like you can't run it back again with this tandem. Like you need to make like Fitzgerald. Like they need to make some moves to bolster that position. Because if this team had league average goaltending, they're pretty comfortably a playoff team, right?
There we go. So
they're just getting sank by it.
Red Wings 68 points, Tampa 67 points, New Jersey 62 points. So New Jersey's just outside of the bubble with Aaron. You said 2 games in hand.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this game is as I think it was Donnell that pointed out. Like this game is, well, I don't know. I mean, he said that this game is more important to New Jersey, and it is to a degree. But if Tampa drops this one, they're not like Tampa's strongly in the playoff spot. Like if this is win for New Jersey, especially a regulation win, that's just more points to climb up on their heels. And because it doesn't look like the Red Wings are gonna fall out. I knock on wood. I'm grew up a Red Wings fan, so I'm definitely pulling for them a little bit, but it kind of seems like the Red Wings have at least mildly figured it out to the point where, I mean, and it's just math, right? Like 68 points to 62, like you could probably sit there unless there's a huge drop off and one of those outside bubble teams just goes on an absolute tear. I'd say the Red Wings are pretty much in it.
I think they'll certainly be whether or not they make it. Again, how much you trust Alex Lyon over an extended period, right?
Sure.
Like that's
how much
the
do you
thing.
believe in Alex Lyon? Yeah,
like that's kind of the open question with them. Like I think they've shown enough to like comfortably say at the very least they're going to be playoff relevant late into the season. But
yeah.
If Alex Lyon like all of a sudden turns into a pumpkin for 3 weeks, like it's not going to be the most surprising thing.
And they don't have great like Reimer is reliable in small. Husso's hurt, so he's not even in the picture. He's back to week. It's going to be Lyon and Reimer, and I think as much as Reimer gets like just speaking from a strict hockey perspective, I do think Reimer is a very capable backup goalie. He's at the age where he can't be starting every night, but I think in limited action, like if he comes in and, gives Lyon a night off kind of thing, I think he is still relevant. Like he did post a shutout here not long ago. So, he can still do it. I think it's just it's a situation where you've got to deploy him in limited capacity.
Right. Yeah. And that makes sense.
Whereas with the Devils, it doesn't matter who you're deploying. You basically go in. If you're the New Jersey Devils, your game plan tonight is okay. We have to score. I only know this because as Kraken fans, we were in the same boat for quite a while when we were trying to make Grubauer work. Like you go into the game knowing you're going to give up at least 3 goals. Like it's a given. Like we are going to give up 3 goals. We're going to have to score 4 or more tonight to win this hockey game. And that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from New Jersey. Like. There's no way that we're getting out of this winning a 1-2 game. Like we are going to at least give up probably 3 goals.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you're
with with the goaltending they have,
Yep. Yeah, you're just hoping that they can hang on and give you you're just hoping that they can give you a chance Like
Right.
they're not stealing games for you the way that other goalies are. Like you can't expect the guy to stand on your head for you.
Do you think like people like Joe Sakic kind of ruined some other like, because this is a copycat league. Like if it worked for one team, half the league is going to try to do that. Do you think Joe Sakic kind of like put the bug in a lot of other GMs' minds that you can win a Stanley Cup with just okay passable goaltending?
I maybe a little bit, like with he won with they've kind of just been throwing.
Was it Darcy Kemper?
Yeah, it was
Kemper that 1 year.
Yeah,
Kemper's not like, I don't want to disparage Darcy Kemper. I don't think he's bad. He's not an elite goaltender, but he's serviceable.
It's between that and I mean, Aiden Hill was the third goalie in Vegas to start the playoffs, right? Like, and won a cup for them. So I think there's that, but then the other side of that is those teams won cups playing behind Cale Makar, Devin Taves, Nathan McKinnon, Jack Eichel, Alex Pietrangelo.
Very
like
true.
There's you can make it work when you have those guys playing in front of you that make any goalie look good, and any team that is not doing that, like if you don't have those guys up front, or you don't play that as defensively structured as Vegas does, you're not putting those goalies in a position to succeed. And so I think sometimes people take the wrong lessons out of those. Like, oh yeah, goaltending is random. You just got to pick some guys and hope everything comes up Millhouse. Whereas I think there's more to it. Like you got to look at the team in front of you and how they play. Because like a team like the Devils, I don't see them as being as defensively responsible to just throw in a league average goaltender, and like they want to get up and down the ice. They want to generate chances off the rush. Ooh. So sometimes you're going to need a goalie to make saves when that rush comes back the other way, versus other teams that want to like slow it down and you're not getting near their net. Like a Carolina is an example, right? Like they can put any goalie in a position to succeed because of the way those forwards play in front of them.
Hey, Johnny Miller jumps on for a second. Fire Chief John Miller, he's a huge sponsor of the Dusty Bender podcast. He ain't no Soros. Well, that's accurate, man. That is very true.
Few people are.
Yeah, very, very true. We talked about it many times on the show, and I think even in the last live stream. Like to me, it's almost kind of bizarre that Soros is even being discussed as trade bait. They must have a tremendous faith in Askarov. So, which I mean, highly touted prospect. So, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But yeah, no, it's coming up to the deadline. We're a week away from it, 2 weeks away,
something like that. Yeah,
something like that. But it seems like the Devils have been linked to pretty much every available goalie on the market. They've been pushing hard for Markstrom, and that apparently a deal was in place. He even gave waived his no trade clause. And then the money wasn't right. They Devils want to retain salary on that, and Markstrom carries, if I'm not mistaken, a pretty significant cap hit. So couldn't make that happen, and the deal fell through. So now they've been linked to. I know they kicked tires on Mers Lincolns very early on. They were linked to John Gibson, which if our co-host Taylor was on the show right now, he'd be telling you that that the whole John Gibson situation is an absolute mess. He should have been traded 2 years ago, and it's still very weird that he hasn't already. But I think he might finally have a say in his future. Gibson's got one more year left with the Ducks. That sounds right.
Something like that. Yeah, I believe that's right. Let me.
He's at the tail end of it. If it's not
yes.
1 year, it's 2. Okay.
So he's got. It's loading right now. Or no. Gibson signed through 27-28.
Oh, really?
Yeah. At $6.4 million.
Bro, he's just so sad. That is here's I wish I was drinking alcohol so I could pour one out for John Gibson as he continues to supervise the rebuild of the Anaheim Ducks.
Yep. Yep. As he continues to block 1,500 shots a year.
God.
Playing behind that defense.
That is just unreal. He Gibson is. I mean, for those who are unfamiliar, I once sat down with some pretty prominent NHL guys. I had the fortune of sitting down with like the coaching staff from the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I asked them. I was like, who are the best goalies in the league? I'm sitting across from Vasilevsky's goalie coach, like arguably one of the greatest minds of NHL goalies. And when he says that John Gibson is in the top 5 goaltenders in the league, that's saying something, because Gibson has been on there's no success to show for it other than his personal stats. Like the fact that the guy has, a career save percentage still above 900 on a Ducks team like that is mind blowing. So, yeah, doing pretty good. Thank you, RJ. 12 days, Friday, March 8th from the trade deadline. Once again, real quick, shameless plug, the Dusty Bender podcast, folks. You guys should subscribe. Check us out. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We'll be having, I don't know if this will be our pre-up deadline episode this week, but definitely be talking about some chatter. And always, if you're familiar with the NHL and how the trade deadline works, you always get a couple of ambitious GMs that kind of know what they want and get it before the deadline so they don't have to get into the mud. So we should. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some trades this upcoming week.
Yeah, I think some of the action will start. You'll see some of the lesser moves, or if a teams are really dialed in on a guy, you'll start to see that stuff start to trickle in. But
we always get that one or two, like that one where it's been talked about forever, and that GM is finally like, look, I don't want to be at Dark 30, 3 minutes before the deadline's over, arguing about whether or not I'm going to have future considerations come back to me or not. Let's just get this done now, so I don't have to stress about it that day. Pittsburgh's usually done that, but now that they're under the careful, watchful, glassed eye of Dubas, I don't know. Maybe they take a different approach. Pittsburgh's a mess. We don't need to talk about Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That is an absolute mess. But yeah, the Devils, speaking of this team and kind of to wrap it up on them, because I want to talk a little more about Tampa. This team, they've been injury plagued, so you can't hold that against them. But that being, is it Dougie Hamilton?
Dougie Hamilton's still out. Yep.
God, he was playing well too.
Yeah.
Like before he went down, granted small sample size, but he was playing well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a situation where you kind of got bad luck. Is Dougie done for no chance playoffs or anything? I haven't heard an update on him for a while, and usually when that happens, I just assume that they're gone for the whole year.
Yeah, he's done for at least the regular season. I don't know if he'll be. Last thing I'm seeing is isn't expected to return until the earliest March, but that was from a while ago. So as far as I know, there's no timeline. He's out indefinitely.
Sure.
Sure.
So and we haven't heard anything. It's not like a Freddie Anderson situation where you're like, oh, he's in the rink. Oh, he's on the rink.
Well, yeah. God, that's a other what a weird situation for that dude.
Yeah. He's just been plagued with injuries, man.
Well, I mean, it wasn't even it was just blood clots. Guy just can't catch a break.
No, that sucks. But it does seem like Carolina is invested in it. It sounds the rumor mill is that they are no longer trying to look for a goalie. They are wanting a scoring winger. So
I think that's a smart way to go about this.
Probably. A healthy Freddie Anderson is that Darcy Kemper type. He will get the job done, acceptable.
Yeah, they need some more firepower to complement Aho and Svechnikov.
Yes,
they have a lot. But besides that, they just have a lot of really good guys that driving play, but not a lot of high end finishing talent. So if they could get into go back to Pittsburgh, if they can get a Jake Gensel type, goes a long way to helping.
Lots of teams can benefit from a Jake Gensel type.
It'll be interesting to see if he does go somewhere, because Jake, more than almost anybody not named Chris Kunitz, Jake Gensel has benefited from spending a whole lot of time attached to Sidney Crosby's hip. And
it's true.
Be interesting to see how much of that is being really good at playing with high-end talent versus how much of that how much can he actually drive his own line and be the guy on a team that's carrying more, that's openly asked to carry more of the scoring load and not be the fourth or the third or fourth complimentary guy to, Sidney Crosby.
Right, exactly. God damn it. Delay a game. You don't mean to do it, but man, you just kick yourself. Hughes with the delay a game. Oh, bro.
I hate delay a game penalty. Like,
it's super dumb. Yeah,
because I see people, like some people online that are like, well, if you don't have it, it'll go back to guys just shooting the puck out intentionally.
No one did that.
That was not a thing.
No one did that.
There was never a time where there was an epidemic of guys intentionally shooting the puck out of
not once. Well, I don't want to say once, but
and if it was ref's discretion. It was just not automatically called. So it it really drives me nuts. It wasn't on this play, but like when they do it, and then we have to have a 10-minute replay to see where the puck went over the goal, like with these bad off-angle camera, like it just kills pace of play. And just defensive zone face-off, like defensive team doesn't get a line change. Like, let's go. We don't need to. Yep. We don't need to waste all this time for a guy who meant to flip it off the glass and then it just happened to carry him out. Like, God, it's such I hate it so much.
It is. It really is frustrating. I think that, and as much as we hate, I don't know. So I've seen the counter arguments to it of like, it's one of those black and white calls where the ref can't fuck it up. And it's like, no, okay. Like I fine, but I still don't like it. You know what I mean?
I also disagree with the premise that it's like impossible to fuck up, because like we see it happen all the time where we have to have replays of where it crossed over with these camera angles that are like not designed to capture that. And so you're like,
well, trying to the NHL is always like the NHL is rarely forward thinkers in professional sports, like compared to what the other professional leagues. But in the case of video review, the NHL has always been kind of very open to that idea. Even into the 90s, we've always had replays and video reviews where we look at things again. Whereas it took other leagues quite a while to really embrace that. When it comes down, I don't know, man. It does kill the pacing of the game a bit when you've got to sit here and look at something. But it's because, I guess I don't like it. I'm with you, but like if I'm gonna die on a hill, I'm gonna get more angry about was dude skate a millimeter over the line before the puck a minute and 45 seconds ago after this goal. Like, come on. Like if it's that close, just let it go.
Well, yeah. And God, with the offside thing, like I don't know if you watch soccer, but like I can watch a match in the World Cup and within 2 seconds of like a play being called offsides or not offsides, you can see like a 3-dimensional image of exactly where the guy was, and that like his shoulder, like a millimeter of his shoulder was past the last defender, and so it was offsides.
Right.
Like that technology exists, but then when I watch a hockey game, we have to do the like CSI Miami enhance and blow up an image to see if a guy's skate was a millimeter off. And it's like dude, we don't have to do this. Like it's just such and yeah, like to your point, like they've been in the zone for a minute and a half, but none of that play mattered because the entry was offsides. Like Jesus Christ, come on, what are we doing here?
Little chatter in the chat right now. So Jared heard rumors for Ullmark. I've heard that too. Those are very recent rumors. It's if I'm a Boston fan, I have very mixed feelings about that, because on one hand, that is probably arguably the best tandem in the NHL.
I don't think it's close. Like,
yeah, I'm trying to think of somebody else that would. There's not really anybody else. There are guys that are playing better than them a little. Like I would make an argument that Bob is probably one of the top tender this right now. Bob's playing out of his mind at the moment, and Florida's on an absolute heater. But best tandem. So it sucks to maybe get rid of that. You don't want to lose that, but at the same time, maybe they're learning a lesson from the playoffs last year. Like you can only start one of them, and you don't really want to rotate goalies in the playoffs. It's just not like you rotate goalies in the season to balance out the workload.
Mm-hmm.
In the playoffs, it's all about getting in the zone and, you know, riding the hot hand. And I think you just can't play both of them. So from a strictly logical standpoint of going further in the playoffs, I mean, it's not a bad deal. You know, Boston's really low on draft capital, so you trade trading Allmark gets you in the, you know, it gets you in like a Jake Gensel type discussion. Whereas like if you're Boston, you're like, oh, do you want my first round pick from 2030? It's like, no, man, I don't want that. Thanks.
One of the things that's interesting about that is, and I remember reading this after the Wild loss. I can't remember if it was like a year or two ago when they were running Fleury and it must have been last year because they were running Fleury and Gustafsson as a tandem, and then they got into the playoffs and then they just picked one. And similarly with Boston, and the argument that they were making in the piece, I think it was on The Athletic, was these guys for all like the entire season, they've been in a routine of like playing every other game or, you know, going every third game or whatever. Like they're used to doing that. And then you get to the playoffs and then it's like, okay, now we're going to put you in an entire league. So the argument they're making were like, is it more beneficial to keep them doing what they've been doing? And so you're running that tandem into the playoffs because that's what you've done all year versus these teams that get thrown out like Boston last year. Like you run this tandem all year, then you get into the playoffs, you go 6 games of Allmark until he like physically can't do it. And then it's like, all right, now Jeremy, it's game 7. Go get us into the next round. And it's like, you know, does that cause enough of a shock to their routine that it throws them off their game? Or, and I don't know. I don't think there's been like a definitive answer to that, but I would really like to see one team try going in and then just keeping the same tandem that they've ran out, like keeping like as close to the same schedule as they can and see if that's more successful. Cause I don't think we know the answer definitively.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It definitely is the one of the last pieces that they have to even be in the discussions for, because they, you know, again, you're nitpicking. Boston's playing quite well right now, but you could make an argument you could use a more elite center, and that's not me trying to disparage Pavel Zacha. I think Pavel Zacha is a very serviceable center. I think he's very good. I think he's more suited for a second line center role, but I think he's been playing quite well on that top line, all things considered. I think he's been serviceable. It's just, you know, if you're Boston, you're probably looking to put something with a little more firepower on that first line with Pasta or Marchand, however they want to stack that up.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like even though they're 3-3-4 in their last 10, they've got 81 points in 59 games. Like they're fine.
They're fine.
And also, like if you're going to trade Allmark, who are you trading him to that you're not going to potentially see in the playoffs, right? Like the teams that we talk about, like the need goalies, like your New Jerseys, like your Carolinas, like your, you know, whatever, right? Like, is that gonna, like, you don't want to trade him to a team that you're going to see. So that really narrows your pool of trade partners, right? Like you don't want to put Allmark in New Jersey because you're going to have to see them probably, right? Like, exactly. So the teams you're sending him to there's a very limited number of windows. And yeah, like I don't.
If I'm Boston, you know, like I'm picking up the phone maybe if Edmonton's calling me. I'm picking up the phone if Vancouver doesn't need a goalie. I don't know, a West Coast team that, you know, the odds of me finding in the playoffs are small. So, but I don't know. In the West, there's not too many. You know, Vegas doesn't need goaltending. They don't want to spend any more money on that. Edmonton you could make an argument Skinner's been playing better, but you know, maybe you want some insurance there. There's that. Winnipeg does not need goaltending.
No. Dallas does not need goaltending.
Dallas does not need goaltending. Other contenders, you know, Vancouver doesn't need goaltending. So
the Kings, maybe.
Yeah.
That may be the
Kings,
that's maybe the one I can think of. Like if you put Allmark behind that team,
Yeah.
They have some prospects, but that'd be the only thing. But that's again like you're narrowing your pool of trade partners down to like one, right? So like you're not gonna have the leverage to get as much out of it. And yeah, like Jordan mentioned, like Markstrom is also available. So like I don't know. It's a really interesting deadline for goalies specifically because there are contenders that need goalies and there are goalies available. So it'll be interesting to see how many of them actually move.
Yeah, I agree. It's at the end of the day, it seems like a few suitors have dropped out. Like we said before, it sounds like Carolina is out of the goalie, conversation. They're not interested anymore. So that's one potential destination for a goalie where that's just not going to happen. I think you made a good point with LA. I mean, if you guys check out the Dusty Bender podcast, which you should subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You would know my thoughts on Cam Talbot. Anytime that he is capable of, he's just fake good. And I'm not a believer in Cam Talbot. It doesn't matter on what team he's on. He's a Brian Elliott type to me where he plays just good enough to make you think he's good and then immediately leaves you with disappointment. So yeah, if I'm the Kings and I'm actually trying, yeah, Markstrom's how old is not Markstrom? How old is Ullmark?
He is 30.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Yeah. I would absolutely take Linus Ullmark. 100%. I would be definitely interested in that.
Yeah. And just to wrap up on Markstrom, yeah, Markstrom has been having an unbelievable year behind a bad team. Like Markstrom should be on Vezina votes the way he's played this year behind that team. Like his top line numbers don't necessarily show it, but like by GSAC, like he's been one of the best goalies in the league.
It's a good point. Yeah, Markstrom is looking really good for the Flames. I don't know. You're saying you're keeping Markstrom. I just don't. I mean, that would be such a poor decision. I mean, it would cement the tank because there's really no like who comes up. Is Vlader now the starter? Which is not. I mean, the guy's shown promise, and then you've got what Wolf in the wings, so to speak. What's his name? Jeff Wolf, Dustin Wolf, something like that.
I don't know. They all sound like generated names in NHL.
That's right. Yeah. Well, when Taylor and I discovered that the Columbus Blue Jackets have a goalie prospect named Jet, I was like, yeah, Jet is fucking rad. I am all about Jet. I hope his career. I feel like the Emperor from Star Wars. Like I will be watching your career with great interest. Yeah. So, but yeah, Jared Brown, we haven't won in regulation since 17 days ago. That is concerning. Yeah, it's not well. But I mean, like, hey, man, nobody's sitting here going like I don't know. It's in the season, I guess wins are wins. But yeah, I mean, if you're one of those teams in the league, we do this all the time. We talk about this. We talk about when we do talk about the Kraken on our show. The Kraken are a team where they should not be in it. Like they're like the Islanders. Okay, the Islanders and the Kraken are losing teams. Like they have losing records and they should not be in it. But because they have double-digit losses in overtime, they're still technically in the playoff hunt and there's hope. There shouldn't be hope. And in my opinion, there's not very many hockey fans that I know that like the loser point. So, because it kind of just, it's contrary to the nature of what we think. Like in other sports, there's a lot of celebration for minor victories. Like, oh, we got the pennant, or, oh, we won our division or something like that in football. Like all these minor victories are kind of like sustain us. In hockey, it's not like that. Like it's cup or bust. Like if you like, oh, we made the playoffs. Like, great. That's not the cup. Like you didn't win the cup. Like you're not, Toronto doesn't even have minor, Toronto celebrated their ass off when they won a playoff round last year. Like big fucking deal. Like it's in this sport, we've put the Stanley Cup literally on a pedestal to the where it is the ultimate goal. And if you fall short, you didn't accomplish really anything. So, and that's I'm not disparaging that. I think that that's how it should be. Like, I think that other sports celebrate mediocrity too much. Like, oh, you won your fucking, you won the pennant, big fucking deal. Like, I don't, you didn't win.
I do think I think hockey
lost.
players go a little too far to the point where they won't even touch the conference championships. Like,
sure,
we were the best team in the Western Conference. We can't even touch like some of that. I think is a little too hard. But as far as like getting back to Boston, like Boston, you just need to get into the play. Like, this team needs to like redeem itself in the playoffs. Like, what they do in the regular season is immaterial. Like, they're gonna make a playoff spot. Like, they're gonna make the playoffs, and then it's about what you do in the playoffs, right? Like, you haven't won in 17 games. Like, that's not ideal. They've still gotten points in 10 of those 7 games,
right?
Or 7 of those 10 games, excuse me. So like, all they need to do is get in. And like, it might be bumpy along the way, but Boston fans are very patient and reasonable, so I'm sure they'll be very understanding of a mid-season skid, and that'll be fine. Yeah. But yeah, they'll get in, and then it'll be about what they do right, once they get there. And I think that that's fine. So, I'm not, as long as they're banking points, for them it doesn't really matter. Like, Jared, they don't have anything to show.
Jared, give me Maple Leafs and Boston first round. Give it to me. I need it injected into my veins. I need it like I need oxygen. Like, there are storylines in hockey where, like, I don't normally watch. We're Aaron and I and Taylor on the Dusty Vendor podcast are very much hockey fans. We watch, the league. We love hockey. But no, I'm not going to sit here and say that I watch with fervor the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Boston Bruins every other game. It's got to be they're playing one of my teams or a marquee game. And if Boston takes on Toronto, I'm watching every single one of those fucking games. Every single one.
Austin Matthews has 75 goals, gets shut down by Morgan Geekie.
Oh, it's going to make me so happy. Well, it's the cycle again, right? Like, I'm a little less, because I think that this is a very weird comparison, but I think that Toronto is a much more well-rounded team than, we're still talking about top-heavy teams, but I think there is a bit more depth, and the scoring is spread around more in Toronto than it is in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And I make this point because look at every team that takes on Edmonton in the playoffs. This 65-70% of your strategy is shut down McDavid and Leon. If you do that, you got a decent chance of winning the hockey game. Because of that, and we've talked about on the show before, like a stupid percentage of you had that one, it was kind of a cherry pick stat, but you had a decent stat where it's like, if Leon and McDavid don't get a point in a game, they lose like 80% of their games or something like that.
Yeah, the record is abysmal, and I mean, you could say that for any team, right? Like, if they don't get production from their 2 best players, that they're probably gonna. It's like saying when they're like, this is this team's record when leading after 1, and it's like, well, yeah, if you're leading after a third of the game, your chances of winning are probably pretty good. Like,
right? Exactly.
Yeah. It's like that type of stat. So, but yeah, if you can shut down those guys, the record, I forget what it was, but it was abysmal. Like, right. It was,
but it's shown that, right? Like, maybe it's those type of players. Like, I genuinely do believe that Austin Matthews is a playoff caliber type player. But they're like, that's going to be like, you're going in the playoffs. There is no like zone coverage or taking chances. Like, the coach, whoever's playing Toronto in those series, is going to go up to a defenseman or even a solid, defensive winger and say, I don't care about you breaking it out. I don't care about you cutting up the ice. I don't care about you catching passes. Your entire job for the next, 4 to 7 games is to shut down this player. Yep. And when you do that, it's going to work. I mean, I know you're neutralizing one of your guys, but that's how it works. And we've seen Marner like just turn into a pumpkin in the playoffs. Like, he's historically just like goes completely silent. I think Willie Nylander might, do better.
Nylander has been their best playoff performer, for sure.
Yeah, so I think that's probably where you go, because after you can cover 1, you can kind of cover 2, you can't cover all 3. Like, if unless you completely want to just shut off your offense and not care about scoring, you can't just stop all 3 of them. So I think that might be their saving grace, but man, I don't even. I want to know the numbers. Like Boston's been Toronto's boogeyman, and looking at how the playoffs are shaking out right now, it's very possible that Boston meets Toronto once again. Toronto is kind of stuck in that 3 spot. They're probably not going to fall to a wild card. They're probably not. There's not enough points for them to move up because Florida and Boston basically have secured 1 and 2. So basically, Toronto can't go up. They can't go down. They're basically stuck in the 3rd. So they're going to play whoever doesn't win the division. And right now, mild gripe. Boston is still amazing, but for Boston, they are on a bit of a lull, whereas Florida is just fucking. Florida looks unstoppable right now, man.
Yeah,
they just kicked. Speaking of Tampa, they just kicked the shit out of them 9-2 recently.
Yeah, they are rolling. And so the Leafs, just for context for people, they're 6 points behind the Panthers with 2 games in hand. Both of them are 8-2 in their last 10, so they're both playing really well. But when you go 8-2 and you're not gaining any ground, like that's tough. So what are you gonna do?
So they're playing well enough to not fall, basically, because the Red Wings are on a bit of a heater. I think they're on 4-game winning streak and a decent last 10. I could be wrong on that.
7-2-1 in their last 10. Yep.
Okay, so a good last 10, and I think they're on a 4-game heater right now. Probably not knock on wood, but probably 5 after today.
We should talk about that. There's some other stuff going on that's more important, more relevant, and more interesting than
very much so
than the Red Wings playing Chicago.
Storyline wise, the Detroit Chicago game today is going to be very cool. This is Chris Chelios's retirement, where they're going to raise his jersey into the rafters, which I kind of want your thoughts on that. And then Patrick Kane's homecoming, first time being in Chicago as a Detroit Red Wing, which, when he went back as a Ranger, it's a little different. The 2 fan bases of the Red Wings and the of Chicago, they hate each other, like at least the older ones. I've always kind of said this. I grew up a Red Wings fan, but like I was in late 90s, early 2000s is when I started my fandom of the Red Wings. At that time, our rival was the Avs. Chicago, and it's not an insult. It's just the Tony Amonte, Nikolai Javibulin days of the Chicago Blackhawks were not even competitive. Like they just, I never saw them. I never got to see the old days where Detroit and Chicago really fucking butted heads, because every time we played them, it just wasn't, there was no rivalry. And then they swapped, and then, once they started winning all those cups, Detroit couldn't hold. There's been never like close games. It's either Chicago was crushing Detroit more recently or Detroit was crushing Chicago. So I didn't ever get in on the Detroit-Chicago rivalry. It's just my age group. But yes, I've met many fans of both teams who still will say to this day that the Detroit-Chicago rivalry is alive and well.
Yeah. So you think of Chris Chelios as a Red Wing, not as
I only know him as a Red Wing, and it's to me it's very strange that he's getting a retirement in Chicago. He played more years in Detroit.
Yeah, but he had better years in Chicago.
He won the Stanley Cup with Detroit.
Yeah, but he won the Norris twice in Chicago.
That's fair.
That's fair. I think of him as an Atlanta Thrasher personally, but
yes.
But he's my favorite Thrasher. But yeah, no, it makes sense, right? Like he played 9 years there. He won 2 Norrises there. Like in a lot of ways, that's what. And when he went to, he didn't get to Detroit until he was 37. Like,
fair.
By the time
that's not true.
I'm looking at his hockey reference right now. He
played like 11 years with Detroit.
He played 10. Yeah, from when he was 37 until he was 47, and then he went to Atlanta at 48, and then he retired. Like,
I forgot that he played so long. Oh my god.
Yeah, and before he got to Chicago, he played 7 years in Montreal. Like, by the time he got to Detroit, he'd been in the league for 16 years.
Guy's a stud. Guy is an absolute stud.
So that's why I say, his prime years of being Chris Chelios, he had him in Chicago. Like, I know he won 1 Norris with the Habs too, but like for me, I think of him as being a Blackhawk. But But yeah, he didn't get to Detroit until he was in his late 30s, and then he just decided to play for another 11 years. So yeah, and he had a lot of team success, obviously, with those Red Wings teams where they were just, hey, you're a future Hall of Famer in your mid 30s. How about you come play for the Red Wings for a couple of years? And when they were just racking those up. But yeah, no, I think of him as a Blackhawk, and I think it makes total sense. Like, I know Chicago's been a little weird about their jersey retirements, but if you're going to do it, like it's going to be they were talking about on the pregame on the broadcast, but one thing about Chelios, dude, like that dude rolls deep.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of really famous friends, and so that's going to be a party, and
it's gonna be a good time. It's
gonna be more interesting than the Detroit Chicago game that happens after.
Yeah. The guy is an absolute beauty. I've been very fortunate to meet Chelios and even talk to the guy. My favorite, I interviewed him for 30 seconds at a charity golf tournament here in North Idaho, to which I asked him, hey, how was the day? Because he was playing in a throuple with I think it was John Cooper and Wayne Gretzky, and what a throuple. And Chelios comes out, and I was like, hey man, how'd the day go? And he just replies, I fucking hate golf.
Fair enough.
He was my hero. Guy even took his fucking tarp off and jumped in the lake after the 16 hole and got in trouble by the Coast Guard. So he's my hero. Yeah. I love the guy. I got a signed hat.
If I was as jacked as he is at his age, like I'd find any excuse to go tarps off too. That was an awesome play by Mott, by the way, in this game on that breakaway.
Oof.
Like one-handed almost shovels it top shelf. Back to this game. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. No, tell me, and because I want your opinion. I'm gonna take a slight break here in a second, but tell me a little bit, like from an outsider's perspective. Kaner returning to Chicago as a Red Wing. Is this different? Is he going to get booed? Do you think he's going to get booed?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I'd be shocked. Like
Chelios got booed. Okay. When he defected, when he went to the Red Wing, because this was
a nice goal.
That was. When he went to the Red Wings, like there were many Hawks fans that like, this is a betrayal.
I guess.
Did you say there was a goal?
Yeah, Hedman just scored.
Oh man, I am so far. What's your time?
I'll tell you when they're not doing the replay. But to get back to your point, like the Hawks were as ready to move on from Kane and Taves as
they did everything they could to push him out the door.
Yeah, exactly. 18:28 in the second is my time.
Okay. My stream is a little quiet. My stream is a little behind.
Like those guys hung around as long as they possibly could. And I don't blame Chicago for not wanting to re-up on a guy that's just coming back from a hip resurfacing surgery that no hockey player has ever successfully returned from. So I don't blame them for saying like, yeah, we need to move on and from Kane, and unfortunately it doesn't seem like Taves is ever going to play again. Like seems like long COVID really got him, but like so I think the context around why they're coming back makes sense, and I think that's maybe why it's different. Like if it were up to those guys, they'd still be playing in Chicago.
Yep.
The organization had different plans and needed to move on, and so
for external reasons as well. Like even if you remove the just abysmal, awful, terrible off ice reasons, even on ice, it makes sense. Like their era was over. Like they were the last ones from those cup teams. And as much as you want to honor them, like again, it's the sentimental person in me definitely respects and understands why Pittsburgh doesn't want to get rid of Crosby, Malkin, Letang. I understand why, Tampa is hesitant to get rid of Stammer. Like he's been the face of the franchise for as long as forever. So I get it. I understand all the sentimentality, but if you look at Vegas, man, sometimes it pays to be cutthroat, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like Vegas runs their team like you doing the GM of like your fan like of
Right.
NHL, right? Where you're
Right.
just like, yeah, you're 1 point better rated than the other guy. See ya. Like, and so that's fine. But like would I have loved to see Kane like only be a Hawk for his career? Like, sure, but that ship has sailed. So I guess I don't understand being bitter about it if it were me. So yeah, Chance is going to take a little bit of a break. So if you guys have any questions, otherwise I can just vamp and talk about this game for a couple of minutes. Yeah, that was a nice goal by Tampa to put them up. And I think Kucherov got a point on that, right? So he's at 99. So 1 point off 100 for the season, which is nuts. Like, I think he's still leading. If I can load up stats real quick, see what his. Because I think he's still leading the points race, too. Yeah, got 99 points. 3 points up on McKinnon. Holy shit. Guy's just been a monster. He's a guy I always forget is as good as he is. Just something about the way he plays just doesn't jump off the page like McKinnon or McDavid does. Dude is just efficient. Shots 14-8. I feel like the Devils have had more of a push. Maybe that was just to start the game. Yeah. So how's everybody doing today in the YouTube stream land? It's hot in here. Holy shit. I need to get some air moving. Jesus. They have a sharp penalty on that? No. Okay. I was going to be very confused if they did. Yeah. They got money on Tampa and the Flyers today. Just to win? You just picking winners, or what did you bet on the Flyers? Flyers Pens. Interesting. Straight up wins? Okay. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Flyers would be interesting. Those are two teams I can't get a read on personally. I keep waiting for the Penguins to realize they've got like 5 Hall of Famers on that team, and I keep waiting for the Flyers to realize that they don't, and neither of that has happened. So I hope for your sake you win, but that game just seems like it's going to be a shit show. Yeah, I think it is a coin flip for sure. It's such a shame that the Penguins are going to waste such a great year by Sidney Crosby at like age 36 or whatever. God, Kucherov got it again. I got 100 points. Jesus, what a monster. What do you guys think? Does Kucherov win scoring race? Does he hold off McKinnon long enough? Let's turn over. Okay. I think he's going to get another today. That's interesting. Maybe. I mean, wouldn't surprise me. Dude, he might be the most efficient player in hockey. Like, he just seems like he's always in the right spot to do good things. What's up?
What's going on? I had to get some more coffee.
Okay. Cooch has 100 points.
Oh, we're 2-0 now, huh?
Yep.
Fucking A. Okay, well, is this one of those games where you're like, I don't know, it kind of like, this is, as we mentioned before, like, this is not, it's not do or die. This is a really important game for the Devils. Like, if they won this game, then it kind of shows that, like, okay, they're still on the hunt. Whereas, like, they lose this game, this could be, I'm a homer with the Red Wings here, but, like, this could be like those back-to-back losses with Ottawa last year where, you know, are the Wings going to try to buy at the deadline to kind of make that last-second push, or are they not for real? And then they lose the game, and then immediately, you know, Bertuzzi and Hirona get traded.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be this extreme, but, like, if they can't beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in basically a very important, like, if they lose this game, it's going to be very difficult to climb back into the race.
It's a 4-point game, right? Like, this is the team you're chasing to get into a playoff spot, right? So, like,
I think they do have some games against the Red Wings, but again, like, the Red Wings are slightly higher in the standings than Tampa, and
right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like, so the immediate team that they're chasing in the wild card is Tampa, right? And so you need these 2 points, and ideally you need to get them in regulation, because then, you know, not only, like, it's a 4-point game, so you're getting 2 points, and that's 2 points that Tampa cannot get. So they're 5 points out in the division. They're 5 points behind the Flyers with a game in hand, and then they're 5 points out of Tampa in the wild card with, I think they had said they've got 2 games in hand. So
see, I think that's your only hope, right? Like, you're hoping that the Flyers don't get their shit together.
Yeah.
Like, they're playing 500 hockey right now, which is completely catchable if you aren't playing 500 hockey right now.
Correct. Yeah, that's the problem, is the Flyers have kind of stalled out, but no one wants to move up and gain any ground.
Oh, we talked about it in the last episode of the show, which, again, shameless plug if you're just getting on with the stream today. Chance Watson, Aaron Larson with the Dusty Bender podcast. You guys should jump on over to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, the Dusty Bender podcast. We like to have fun. We talk about hockey. Loosely follow the Kraken. I wouldn't say that we're, you know, completely dedicated. We're talking about what Alexander Wenberg had for breakfast or anything like that. But yeah, good time. Oh, is it fucking okay?
What a bounce! Like, it was unlucky for, I think it was Hedman, but just
who got it? 73.
It was Hughes. He just threw it off the defenseman's skate. It bounced right in front of the net for Toffoli. Like,
okay,
there's nothing anybody can do about it. Like,
nice. Is that Vazzy in?
That's a good question.
No, that's not Vazzy.
I don't think so.
That's Johansson.
I was gonna say, he didn't look like he was 9 feet tall, so I didn't think it was Vazzy. But
that's fair. Yeah. God, Vazzy's so fucking good. Oh, that was a very fortuitous bounce.
Yeah, just right off his skate, right to the, like, back door,
right onto your, like, it couldn't have been
like right on a tee.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Okay.
From what I understand, Devin could have scored that. But
yes, very much so. The one he would have gotten would bounced off of him. So, guy had like 100 points in one goal. Kane, do you guys use Stream East for games? No, I know that there are a lot of options for when you need to. Let's put it diplomatically. Borrow a stream, so to speak. Borrow a game, so you can take a look at it. We do not. I'm pretty low rent. Reddit is a fantastic resource for trying to find streams, and I think I use NHL Byte. Is what I've had good luck with it. But you know what? Anytime somebody suggests something and they say, "Oh, this works better," I usually try it. Basically, best quality of stream, combined with the lowest number of hentai pop-ups that I'm going to get. So, because that's, you know, between having to click through gambling pop-ups and tentacle porn, sometimes I get very demotivated to use that stream. So, yeah, if I can find something that's a little cleaner, I will definitely go with that. So I use NHL Byte when it's not on. But because I'm an idiot and signed a Kane, thanks, bud. You're welcome. Yeah, when I'm an idiot and I signed a contract with Verizon that also gets me Hulu and Disney Plus for some reason, So I have ESPN Plus. So when those games are on there, I will watch them on there. Although I would, Aaron, we need to create like between our graphic design skills, I want to create like one of those Saturday morning newspaper cartoons where demons are dragging a hockey player to hell, and the gates over hell, like in Dante's Inferno, I want them to say live sports.
God.
And it's just like a hockey player is like, because hell, hell is always designed for the person. Like it's not just general, at least in Dante's Inferno. So, and I think the hell of a hockey player is just like being sitting on a chair for eternity, listening to live sports, home of the 30 for 30. Oh my God.
Yeah, that loop is the worst.
It's giving me anxiety right now just thinking about it.
Yeah. And to answer your question, Kane, I'm a sucker that pays for YouTube TV, so I just use YouTube TV.
You are a sucker. Oh my God.
Deal with that.
I get aggressive when YouTube asks me to give them money.
I get enough value out of it, and I'm just old enough that like having cable is convenient, and I enjoy having cable. So
Whoa, do you still get a newspaper subscription too?
God, I wish, dude. I wish. Because then I wouldn't have to check social media, and then my life would be so much better.
Jordan, we got 2-1 game, man.
2-1 Tampa with about halfway through the second.
Devils got a very fortuitous bounce not long ago. So, we're looking good. Kane said YouTube TV is good. I haven't tried YouTube TV. I've tried to dabble with a lot of the streaming services, and this is kind of off topic of hockey, but like I had Paramount Plus for a little bit, and there's some good shows on there, but it's not like the content library is not enough to keep it. So, you have it for a couple months, burn through all the content, and then but I'm also a Star Trek nerd, so that was kind of that explains that.
I get enough value out of most of them. Like, or I either get them for free, like you said, like they're either included in my, like I wouldn't have Netflix if I didn't get it for free from T-Mobile.
I haven't had Netflix for a while, and I honestly haven't been upset by it.
Yeah, so I end up through one mean or another getting, like I have a Peacock subscription that I get through something, right? So I end up for like tangentially, I just end up having access to a lot of the streaming stuff. But yeah, like YouTube is one that I would actually use because it's an easy way to watch. Like I use it for like watching football primarily because I hate dealing with those those streaming websites. I did it for long enough, and the pop-up situation that you were describing irritated me enough that I was like, if I don't have to deal with this, I'm just not going to deal with it. Jared, we talked about the jersey stuff earlier. The uniforms are so bad. It's a problem. I hope the PA steps in and addresses it, and because if they go to opening day with those jerseys, it's just going to be a disaster.
Andrew, what's going on, man?
Andrew?
Can't complain, man. We're sitting here. Right. It's on the West Coast, so it's still morning for Aaron and I. We're sitting here having some drinks, coffee. I haven't. It's been 3 days. I had a D&D session last night, and we drank pretty hard during that. So,
which MLB jersey do I love? For me,
you don't want to ask.
I really like as a general rule, I like the jerseys that have more color. I really like the Mariners, like the teal top jerseys. I like those a lot. There's some that are just classic, like Yankee pinstripes, Red Sox, the Cubs. Like there's some of those that I appreciate just from the same reason I like the Habs jersey, right? Like it's just tradition. Yeah. Some other teams that do it really well, like I like the Miami jerseys, man. Like any jersey that just experiments with colors, then it's not just like we're another red and black team. Like,
oh my God, that's so annoying.
That. Yeah,
the NHL, the NHL is terrible about that.
Yeah, and that's and I appreciate the card. I'll tell you about myself. Oh man, I couldn't think of a less interesting topic. But so I grew up in North Dakota. That's where I'm from. Kind of grew up like hockey was just a part of my life. Like my uncle played in the NHL, And so some of my earliest memories were driving up to Winnipeg and to watch my uncle play this would have been 1994. Somewhere lost to time, there's a picture
The old
of
school Jets.
Yes, the original, the 1.0 Jets. Yep. So somewhere there's a picture of me sitting on Phil Housley's lap at like 4 years old.
That's cool.
So like hockey was just always a part of my family growing up. I played hockey. My brother played hockey. All my cousins played hockey. So hockey was just always on in the background. It was just kind of a big part of it. I'm more of a college hockey guy than an NHL guy, just as a result of growing up in North Dakota. Like the Wild didn't come until I was 13. So the closest and the Jets left when I was 5. So the closest hockey team was like Chicago or Detroit, but we had the University of North Dakota. So we would go to UND games, watch Taves, Oshie, Parisi, like watching all those guys. So I love college hockey more than the NHL. But so yeah, I moved out to Washington in 2020 for my actual job that pays me money, and then met Taylor through my wife, dog sat Blue and Kuma, and she was like, "Hey, you should talk to this guy. He likes hockey." And Taylor and I got very drunk on a golf course, and that's been hanging out ever since. I don't know.
The rest of history.
The rest is history. Yeah. Somehow I ended up here, and now I'm, I don't know, talking about hockey to the internet rather than explaining it to my wife who doesn't actually care.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's good to be on here with fellow degenerates talking about hockey. So
that's right.
You're actually you're actually more of the voice of reason on the show, but we'll drag you down.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. I didn't fucking know about the early days about Winnipeg. So did you carry over that loyalty? Because you've always told me you're a Wild fan. Are you still?
Yeah. So I there was a long period where I got so fed up with it's part of the reason I watch or like college hockey more. I got so fed up with the NHL and their labor issues.
Oh.
That missing a season, then missing a half season shortly after that I just checked out of the NHL. I didn't. The only hockey I would watch would be the playoffs. And there were a couple years where I only watched the Cup final. But the thing I had always said was like, when the Wild came when I was like in high school, I would kind of follow them just because my family are all diehard Minnesota fans, so the Wild would just be on. But the thing I said was like it was the thing that would get me back into actually following hockey was if the Jets came back. So when the Jets came back. That was when I got back into it, watching Andrew Ladd and Brian Little and all those guys from those late Thrashers, early Jets years. And
right.
Yeah, it bums me out because some of the reporting out of Winnipeg lately, I don't know if you've seen it, has been pretty dire. Like they've been kind of stating like we need to get people in the stands because the attendance hasn't quite been what they needed to be to make that market viable. So
that sucks. That sucks to me because I really like the idea of the Jets. Yeah,
I love them. And especially if you're in that area, Jets Wild do not like each other. There's a legitimate rivalry going on.
I wonder why season tickets have dropped off so bad. Like, it's a small market, so not a lot of information dribbles out. I'm just curious of why season ticket, like the fucking Coyotes just came out recently and saying they sold 86% of their season tickets for next year already. Like, if the fucking Yotes the Yotes are the most shit upon franchise in the NHL right now, and they're still finding a way to sell season tickets. How is it Winnipeg can't do it?
Yeah. Well, Andrew, I do like hockey. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I love the game of hockey. I hate the leadership of the NHL.
Andrew, it's that old saying I'm sure you've heard it, but most hockey fans will say it: greatest sport in the world, worst league.
Yes, yeah.
Like
I love the sport of hockey. Don't always like some of the politics around hockey.
The NHL is granted, and you know what? Credit where credit is due. The NHL has done better in probably the last 5 years of trying to make it more of an entertainment like product, and give the players some personality, have some more fun. They have been trying things. Taylor and I started this podcast 3 years ago And even back then, it was, the NHL is not willing to try anything. They're not willing to have fun. They're not willing to do something that would create this as more of an entertainment product. So they have been experimenting, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I'll always think of like the weird, goofy long shot from the All-Star game that one year, where they're like
where they shot from the concourse.
Yeah, it's because one guy did that in the off season on a fucking TikTok. Now we've got to make an All-Star game event about it. And yes, in theory it was fun, and honestly, I'm glad they still did it, but I'm glad it didn't like carry over after that year. So yeah, I think most hockey fans would agree, especially Aaron, you made a great point with like the lockout years. Thankfully, I was young and that like didn't mess with my love of the game too much. But that being said, I think we all don't like being reminded constantly that Gary Bettman is a businessman first and doesn't necessarily really care about the game like we do.
Yeah.
We don't like being reminded of it. We don't like being reminded that the NHL is a business. They all are, the NFL, MLB, NBA, like they're all businesses, but they do a good job of brainwashing the fans into thinking that, we're fans too. It's not that. Like Gary Bettman, like if it's going to make the NHL money, he will always do what is going to be best. Like that's why he's dying on the hill of Arizona, because it's the third largest TV market in the nation.
No, it's not third.
6. It's in the top 10 for sure.
Yeah, it's up there, but yeah, it's because it's
okay. So yeah,
it's New York, LA, Chicago, or 1, 2, 3.
So. Something like that. Like he's not going to get, and that's why Atlanta's going to get a third kick at the can when it comes to having an NHL team, because they have one of the largest TV markets in the nation. So
and one of their broadcast partners is headquartered out of Atlanta. So
there you go.
Like getting because of Turner and TNT, they'll get another crack at it. Chance, what NHL jersey would you like to see in the future? Jared's been asking.
Yeah, we could probably bring that up here. See in the future, like what do you mean, like a new jersey or like somebody to revamp? Because our co-host Taylor is punching air right now as I say this, but like the team that needs a redesign the most is the Ducks. The current standard official Ducks jerseys are consistently voted the ugliest in the league, unoriginal, colors clashing. They're just not good jerseys. And it's sad because they used to have some of the best. I just recently got sent a picture of my favorite one where it's the Ducks logo, but with the eggplant maroon purple. To me, that is the best because Aaron, as you very well pointed out, the last fucking thing we need in this league is another red and black team. Like it's so boring. Ooh, Johansson with a great save there.
Yeah.
I know my stream's a little behind. I'm at 8. I'm at 507.
Okay. Yeah, I'm at 436.
Okay, yeah, so I'm a little behind, but great save there by Johansson.
Who are some teams that you think could use a redesign? Because one that comes to mind for me, I think Colorado could use a revamp. I think they could use a new logo. I don't like the Avalanche logo. Maybe I
could listen to an argument. I'm not saying that it's like classic to me, but I would, if they revamped something, I'd be interested. Jared, you're making this is 100% nostalgia, but I do think the Devils need to rework the tertiary green into their jerseys. I think that was like, I grew up. See, Andrew, thanks for jumping on. I grew up on the Devils having that like tertiary green mixed in. I think that's a big part of them. So I would love to see if you were going to redesign the Devils jerseys, I would definitely love to see the green reincorporated into that. I don't know, but that definitely hits nostalgia because red and green kind of conflict, and I know they got shit for the Christmas jerseys, but also if you think about it, the height of the Devils were when they were wearing those jerseys. So those were the Brodeur days, those were the Stanley Cup days. So I could make an argument on that. Ducks are low hanging fruit. I think Carolinas are very uninspiring. Like you said, again, like that's a red and black team that just, it seems like even their owner has like blatantly come out and said many times that I don't like our jerseys. Like they can't figure it out. They cannot figure out how to make their jerseys good. So that does suck because I like the Carolina Hurricanes.
The Sharks could maybe, because Jared and Andrew were talking about, the Sharks could maybe need a new jersey, but don't touch those. Don't touch that logo. That logo is perfect to me. Like,
yeah, agreed.
I love that logo, and I don't hate the jerseys as much. A team that needs a new logo is the Minnesota Wild, because I don't even know what that is.
Oh God,
because
it's terrible.
It's not a bear, definitively. Like, canonically, it's not a bear. It's supposed to just be unambiguous. Yeah, like unambiguous nature, and like I it's very. So it's such a busy logo like that.
So they either need to double down on that, or they need to embrace it being a bear.
Yeah, one of the two. But I don't like it, and I don't hate their. What they need to do is they just need to make the reverse retro their normal jerseys.
Yeah,
just go all in on that color scheme, and like, who cares that the North Stars moved to Dallas? You should claim those colors because that. And okay, this is a separate question for you. How do you feel about teams that are using logos and branding of cities they do not exist in? So, like, the Avalanche using the Nordiques, Carolina referencing the Hartford. Like, to me, it's just stolen valor. Like,
I hate it. I can like those jerseys. Like, I will not complain too much because those Hartford Whaler jerseys are super cool. Like, I'm not going to disparage them. I like the white and the green. I think they look cool in a vacuum, like in a bubble. But in the context of everything, no, I think it's super stupid.
Yeah.
Wild have the best home jersey right now. That is a very hot take there, Gaza.
If you're talking about the reverse retro, the green, like the bright green, then yes, I agree with you, because I think those jerseys are sick. But they're normal, like forest green, like that doesn't do it for me.
No, I can't. And I'm gonna be a homer on that. Like, it's, I usually, when I try to talk, Coyotes' new logo is brutal. Jordan, are you talking about? They've had a few logos, so like you'll need to kind of define which logo you're talking about. Yeah, I personally love the Kachina, like the Kachina OG Coyote, like the full Coyote with the stick. That is sick. They made the right calling going back to the Kachina jerseys. Like the Shane Doan, the new one is perfect. The Kachina or whatever logo. I like
the Kachina.
So it's not new. Like, that is the OG Kachina logo. Like, that goes back to like when they first became a franchise. They had the Kachina jerseys with the actual like full Coyote sitting there with a stick. Not the Shane Doan years where they had that. I don't even know what that color is. Like the Shane Doan years of Arizona. It's like red, but it's not red. It's like salmon.
It's not quite a maroon, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the Shane Doan years where and the logo was just the howling coyote, like just the face of a coyote.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's no good. Thought it was really cool at first, but I think it looks really bad now. Which one, Jordan? The Kachina or the howling head?
I do wonder how much of like the Kachina and the Ducks, because like we had this when we had Severson on the podcast. I wonder how much of that our appreciation of that is just it was the logo when we were 6.
Sure.
And like it's just nostalgia. And so I wonder if newer fans in Arizona, like to Jordan's point, like the howling logo better, and they're like, what is this stupid Kachina thing?
To your credit, they were more successful with the howling head. Like the Coyotes were more successful when they had those jerseys and the Coyote head and all that kind of stuff. So I do understand that. It is definitely nostalgia for me, where all I remember of those days is empty arenas and Shane Doan looking very sad. So
and they had Gretzky as a coach, remember? So like,
it's and that worked out wonderfully for them.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, why don't you go pass it to the 9 Hall of Famers on your team?" And Shane Doan's like, "Who?"
Right. The neon star jerseys cling to me. I know that is a hot take, but I do like those neon jerseys from the Stars. In fact, I I can think I safely say, like, I don't know every single one they put out, but I think I can safely say I've never been in love with the Dallas Stars jerseys. Like, even going back
No.
into like the Mike Modano years, I don't think I've ever loved them. They've always been kind of bland and uninspiring to me. They're getting better now, and I do like the black light. I like those personally. I know a lot of people don't. I personally do
Not for
like those.
me.
Yeah, it's definitely a love or hate kind of thing. But no, Dallas is always. I do like their rebrand where they went away from some very bland, boring '90s colors to like the bright green. I do appreciate that. But I don't know. Their jerseys are just always so bland. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the new green jersey I think is fine. Like I think that's probably the best I can say. They're fine. They're
Yeah.
pretty forgettable. I'm not a fan of I like the logo of the star with the outline of Texas on it. Like I think that looks cool, but like the black and neon just doesn't do it for me.
It's not. They're always very bland to me.
God, yeah. Gaza, like I don't know how to feel about the Capitals.
Washington Capital. Oh, it needs to. They 100%. Okay, if a team is going to go back to a black jersey, the Screaming Eagle is
the Screaming Eagle.
That jersey is so sick. I fucking love that jersey. Like I needed to come up with an excuse to buy one. I didn't, but like that OG like late 90s Capitals jersey, like the black and the blue with the Screaming Eagle on it, I fucking love that jersey. So good.
This is purely just because things were better when I was younger.
Correct.
But if a team needs to go back to a black jersey, to me, it's the Canucks. I love the Flying Skate.
Yep.
The Flying Skate black Canucks jerseys.
Yep.
Love them.
Vancouver could use a new rebrand. I agree with that. Like they're like, I know like if there's a Vancouver fan on here, they could probably fire back at us. Like they literally just did that. Like they just changed up the colors. They're not the Todd Bertuzzi era Canucks. Like I get that. I understand. But like the jerseys with the stick are very uninspiring and unoriginal.
I want them to go back to the Pavel Bure black, yellow, and red with the skate. That's the jerseys that I want. But
now we're talking. We've just suggested like 4 teams already that should go have black jerseys, and I don't want. Again, it's going to be the problem. Yes. Like I don't want everybody to have black jerseys. So, I think, maybe a good example, like one of the reverse retros that I loved was the Florida Panthers one. I liked both, but I'm in the camp of I liked the first one where they brought back the Panther that was like jumping.
Oh yeah, loved
that jersey. That was a sick jersey.
I like that better than the one they did. I can't remember what year, but with the light blue like palm tree.
Yeah, that was the second reverse jersey.
Yeah, that I don't like that one.
Oh, you didn't like it? Okay. I didn't mind it. I thought it was good, but it wasn't as good as the first one because it reminded me of their early days where they were kind of successful.
Jesus, Gaza, 197 jerseys in your collection.
Dude, you can only wear so many, man.
God, I think I own 3.
Oh, okay. I'm not.
I've got one. I've got a Kraken one. I have the Winter Classic one, and then 4 if you count college. But so I've got the Kraken, regular, the Winter Classic. I've got a Dustin Bufflin Jets jersey, and then I've got a North Dakota one. But
nice.
Yeah, God, watching from England, Jesus, what
nice. Bring him in young. England. How's the hockey scene in England, Gaza? I don't really know too much about if there's any like professional leagues there or anything like that.
There's hockey. I know there is.
Of course. Well, I mean, hockey's everywhere, but I don't know. Like,
it's not.
Like, do you go? So, like here where I am, we have the the local team where I am is a WHL team. It's the Spokane Chiefs. They're what is that, Aaron? Like junior A? I don't know what that is, but
it's the highest level of junior.
Yeah, highest level junior in the WHL, which is part of the CHL. Like we would go watch them. So like I don't like. Do you guys have a rink nearby where you'd go out and watch a game on a Saturday night and throw back a couple pints? I'd be curious. Jared, I live in Portland, Maine, where Maine Mariners play in. Okay, yeah, the ECHL. I think I might have seen the Portland or the Mariners played because the closest ECHL team to us, well, I don't know about Aaron, but to me, it's Boise, the Boise Steelheads. So I think it's very possible I might have seen the Mariners play at one time when if and when they came out this way.
Man,
shit!
We got friends.
Jared and
We're about to
Kane.
make friends.
Jared and Kane making friends. You guys can meet up, have some drinks, and listen to the Dusty Bender podcast.
That's right. Bringing people together.
That's right. Making connections. That's what we do. Donnell. Oh, so I was waiting for Don. We've been talking jerseys for a while. I've been waiting for Donnell to jump on and because he's been our jersey aficionado since I'm from the New York metropolitan area, tri-state, diehard expands. I know that the Rangers are in the playoffs, but do you see the Devils or Islanders have a shot at the playoffs? Okay, so first off, that's cool. I've never been east of Denver. I've traveled quite a bit. It's just weirdly I've never gone east. I don't know. There's a lot of other places I guess I wanted to see. So cool that you're from over in that area and diehard New York, New Jersey fan. Rangers are fine. They're looking pretty deadly, honestly. Who's this guy that kind of came out of fucking nowhere since the outdoor game? Rempe, man. Like this guy is becoming a goddamn rock star. We should shout that out. That might be the best fight I've seen in 5-6 years.
Yeah, it was a caliber of fight that you just don't see two heavyweights square off like that.
No. And it was a good fight too.
Yeah.
Such a good fight. So shout out to him. They're looking real good. I'm not worried about the Rangers. If they do well in the playoffs, that's a different conversation, but I'm not worried about the Rangers. Do I see the Devils or the Islanders? I don't know, man. We kind of talked about it on our last episode. The Islanders definitely less. Islanders are a bad team. If you remember earlier in the stream, I was kind of comparing them to the Kraken, where are they technically still in the playoff race? Yes. But if you get rid of loser points, they are a sub 500 team. The Kraken and the Islanders are both sub 500 teams. The only reason that they're even remotely in the conversation is because they have loser points. So, no, I don't think there are too many teams right now. The West is a little more open. There, you can make an argument. There's 1 to 2 spots. The Blues are Jekyll and Hyde right now. And the Kings did streak. They're doing a little better now. That's a little more fluid. It's really looking like the East is, I don't want to set it in stone, but man, the Red Wings are kind of on a tear at the moment. They're playing at least they're playing good enough hockey to comfortably. I mean, I think they've got they're starting to 10. If you're a Pittsburgh fan, sorry, you're not making the playoffs. You're like 10 points behind the lowest wild card spot. Sorry, you should probably sell. And the Islanders are kind of, if I'm not, I can pull up standings too. I don't have to.
So they're 7 points out. But the issue with the Islanders and the Penguins both is
they got two games in hand, so it's not but it's not completely over. But they're playing. Sorry, Aaron, didn't mean to cut you off. Let me set you up. They're 3-4-3 in their last 10. Like they're not playing any sort of urgent hockey. Like that's a losing record. They're out of it. Like it's just, and there's 2 teams ahead of them that are actually, the Caps are playing 500 hockey. They're all playing. See, that's the thing is like anybody outside of the playoff bubble right now is playing 500 hockey. Like that's not going to get you into the playoffs. Whereas the Red Wings in Tampa Bay are like, they're playing above 500. So that's like just default. They're going to do it.
Yeah. The issue for me with both those teams is the number of teams they got to pass, right? Like you got to jump 4 teams to get back into it in both your division and in the wild card.
The Devils are the only one that I'll give a slimmer of hope for. And it's not because they're going to leapfrog Detroit or Tampa. I think those 2 teams are better than them and more well-rounded. It's that if Philly falls off, New Jersey has a minor chance of taking that third Atlantic spot. That's about it. The Islanders are done. To me, they're out of it.
Yeah, the Devils, because the Devils don't have to pass anybody, right? Like they just got to make up the ground. Whereas if you're the Islanders and God, if you're the Pens, like you have to, not only do you have to win, you have to, the other teams, you have to leapfrog other teams that even if they're losing, they could still be getting loser points and that type of thing. Right? It's just such a tall mountain to climb, and even 30 games.
Yeah. Gaza, real quick, I want the Elite Ice Hockey League. I love that. Tell me, because since you're a Jersey guy, I want you to give me a name of the team in the EIHL with the best jersey. I want to Google it. I want to see it. Your opinion, what's the team with the best jersey in the UK league? Going back to the playoffs. Jordan, I'm biased, but I think the Flames have the best uniforms. You are definitely biased. I'm not bashing them. And in fact, I'm very happy that the Flames went back to the old 80s style, back when they won the one cup that they have. I definitely do like those. But yeah, you're definitely biased. The Flames are definitely in that. Aaron and I were just talking about it. You're in the category of Flames are a red team, red and white team, a red and black team. Wow. It's not really original. The only reason I give the Red Wings a pass on is because they were literally the first team to do it. So that's the only time. So in any case, Andrew, I like Vegas jerseys, except the gold ones on gold helmets. I liked the OG gray Vegas jerseys. I was in the minority on that, but no, the gold jerseys, I've seen them in person, and I will give Vegas fans a pass where in person they are actually gold, but on TV, those jerseys look terrible. They look like mustard yellow, and I just don't like them.
I don't like the new trend of shiny helmets. Maybe this is old man yelling at clouds. I don't like them in Vegas. I don't like them in LA.
The Canucks just did it, and I didn't hate them because they weren't obnoxious. But the LA Vegas shiny buckets, those are made to be obnoxious, and I don't like them. But I think the Canucks had one game this year where they wore shiny buckets, like shiny blue ones, and I didn't hate them. I thought they actually looked good because they weren't they were kind of like matte shiny, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And Donnell, I agree that the Islanders need a rebuild and a retool. There's a couple problems with that. Number one, Lou Lamoriello is too old to do a rebuild, and number two, if you look at their cap friendly, I think they might have the most players signed through 2030 of any team in the league, and it's guys like Pierre Engvall Pierre Engvall signed through 2030.
Yeah.
Adam Pelech, Ryan Pulock, Scott Mayfield signed through 2030 with no trade. So their cap's a mess. They're an old team, and they're not getting any younger, and Lou is too old to do an actual rebuild.
No, I think speaking of old man shouting at clouds, it's everybody, nobody questioned the straight-laced professional approach that Lou was taking when they were doing back-to-back, conference finals appearances. Yeah. Fine. But now, it's very clear that that's not what was giving. It was Torts. It wasn't Lou. They weren't having success because Lou wasn't letting them have beards and, giving them, crotch inspections to make sure that their pubes were up to scrutiny. I don't know if he was actually doing that, but I like in my head canon, I like to think that he does that. No, they weren't doing that. They were doing it because of Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz is, I still think, one of the greatest coaches that has ever. He's in the discussion of top 20 in my opinion. But in any case, that was a Torts thing, not a Lou thing. And the fact that Lou is still kind of
Trotz, not Torts.
Yeah, right. Sorry, not Torts. Charles. Yeah. In any case, so yeah, that's where I'm going with that. Islanders and Devils have been up and down. Islanders lost so many games. Yep. So we mentioned that already. They're not a good team. They're technically a losing team, a sub 500 team. And I'm not a fan of loser points, and I don't know much hockey fans that are. Devils give up. Yeah. Devils have goal. We talked about it earlier in the show. Goaltending has been an issue. They probably should have. Aaron made a good point earlier. They should have gotten good goaltending a year or two ago. And then even if in the bubble of just this year, they should have probably done it earlier on when they, were still in the top of the division and not, now fighting for their lives, their playoff lives. Because if I'm a Devils fan and I miss the playoffs, that is bad. That is expectations this year are, I wouldn't say high. It's not like Devils fans are sitting here saying this is our year to win the cup, but definitely compete for it and absolutely make the playoffs. And if you don't make the playoffs, like it's to me, that's a huge step back. And I know that Devils fans are calling for Lindy Ruff's head again. So we'll see how that goes.
Sure.
Gaza. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, that's the England League. Okay. Gotcha. I understand.
Okay.
Let's see. New Jersey Devil Islanders do need to rebuild and retool. Get rid of Lou. Yep. Andrew. Donnell. Absolutely. 100%.
So as
The
Gaza
Cardiff Devils?
Yeah, so
whoa.
Speaking of Christmas jerseys.
Yeah, man. I could get behind those. The Cardiff Devils. Okay. Yeah. All right. I could wrap my head around that. That's sick.
Yeah, that's all right. Let me see, Jared. Let me pull up the main Mariners.
Jordan, the Canucks blue and green jerseys are one of the best. Yeah, those aren't bad. Yeah, I mean, we just got done saying that we would probably go back to the black and yellow, but yeah, those aren't bad. The Coventry Blaze. Oh, those are sick.
These are the main. That logo is sick.
Yeah,
I like that logo a lot.
Yeah, that is really cool. Did we look up the Coventry Blaze?
I have not looked up the Coventry Blaze.
Okay, check out the Coventry Blaze because that was the first one you said.
Okay. Okay. I was expecting more red.
Yeah, I was
for a team
too,
a team called the Blaze, but
the Blaze. Kind of unique though. Yeah, I could with the like, they remind me kind of like Winnipeg jerseys.
Yeah, and they remind me of the main Black Bears, the college hockey team. They have that same kind of like blue on the shoulders, and they've got kind of a similar color scheme. Yeah, I like them.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome, man. I love that. I've even seen. I got for a hot second. I was interested in the German leagues, and they've got some pretty sweet jerseys over there too. So, love that shit.
And you can kind of see them underneath all the logos and of sponsors.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely fair. Cardiff Devil. What do we got here? The Panthers barely snuck into the playoffs last season, went on an unreal run, largely because of Chuck. I don't think teams like the Devils and the Islanders have that type. I agree, 100%. It's like I'm not, if you're a Devils fan on this stream, I don't want to be all doom and gloom. Like it's very possible with the right moves, you guys could climb back into it. But with how the team sits right now and with the injuries you still have, like Dougie Hamilton's a huge loss. He's supposed to be your 1D, and that's just okay, arguably 2D, but he's top line guy. You're losing a lot of quarterbacking on that power play and whatnot if you're missing Dougie Hamilton. So,
I do think Jack Hughes is that level of player. He's that type of game changer. Like, so if the Devils get in, like between Hughes and Heischer, and I know Meyer down year, but like they can score.
Like, I'm not completely writing them off. It's just their destiny is not in their hands. We'll put it that way.
Right.
Like,
yes. Yeah.
It's like they're going to have to get some help from somebody. They're going to need the Flyers or the Lightning or the Wings to start sucking real bad here real quick.
And the reason Tkachuk was able to be such a game changer was because Bob was like 950 for 2 rounds. Like the reason those games went to overtime was because Bob was playing out of his mind for 2 rounds of the playoffs. And so they and that's the problem with both those teams, right? Is you're not going to get that kind of goaltending. And no, it is what it is.
You're not. And that's why I say, like, I lean toward more the idea of it's too late for the Devils. I'm leaning toward that. I'm not saying it just yet, but like I lean like on the scale of like, oh, they've definitely got this. There's lots of hope too. It's totally done. There's no way they're getting in. I'm leaning more towards that way because they should have made a move for a goalie a while ago. Like they should have done this already. Like they should not have waited to the deadline to do this. They should have added a good goaltender when they were, because even when they were doing well in the first half of the season, we still knew they had goaltender issues. Like they were getting away with it because they had a high shooting percentage and like their offense was just outscoring a lot of the problems they had.
Mm-hmm.
then the scoring dried up. Hughes got hurt. And we saw them completely just fall apart once the scoring wasn't there to make up for the lack of defense and bad goaltending. So they knew for a while that the goaltending wasn't good, yet they lasted it anyway. And yes, Aaron makes a very good point that Manchester Monarchs jerseys are fucking sick.
Those are nice. I like those.
Yeah, they. So I've known about them because like in the early days, I don't listen to Spit and Chicklets much anymore nowadays, but in the early days, like when Biz first came on, and even before him, when it was just Wit and RA, like OG Spit and Chicklets before Barstool. I learned about the Manchester Monarchs because Biz won the Calder Cup with them, I believe. So
okay, cool.
That's how I know about those jerseys. I know they're sick.
Yeah, I saw. Speaking of Chicklets, Granelli was in Grand Forks. They were
No shit.
for their. I don't know if you've seen. They've done pieces on like he went to Penn State, talked to the coach, showed like the arena, the training facilities, all that type of stuff. He's done it for a couple of different colleges, and they did UND recently. So he was in Grand Forks taking in a game and seeing all the crazy facilities that those guys have. Like they've got like their gym can be set to train at elevation, so it like filters out oxygen. They've got like recovery beds that don't feel like you're sitting on anything. Like watch the video of like the facilities. It's insane how nice that building is.
Okay, yeah, it's sad when AHL and ECHL teams have better arenas than one NHL team in particular. But
oh yeah, it's crazy.
Gaza. I need to get again Taylor missing out on something because Taylor could tell you all about the Alaska Aces.
Oh yeah,
he was a big fan of that. But that was like that was like Alaska's only thing was they had the Alaska Aces, because now it's just college hockey up there, I think.
Yeah, UAA.
Yeah, in terms of anything, which I mean I get, like at the end of the day, like it's logistics, right? Like how can you possibly?
Yeah, it's tough sledding when you got to fly across a whole other country to do any away game. Yeah, it sucks,
right. It's that can be difficult. So I get that that's probably pretty tough to keep that team up and going. The travel cost just must be ridiculous. But yeah, I have seen the Alaska Aces jerseys, and those are super fucking cool. The AHL team I don't like is the Providence Bruins jerseys. In the AHL. Those are uninspiring.
There's a certain set of AHL teams that just get into, hey, we're just gonna have the branding of the pro team. And
who do you guys predict will make it to the finals this year? Oh boy, we're skipping some levels. We just went from like who might get the wild card spot to who's going to the final. Boy. I really do think that Vegas repeats. Not wins. I think that they come out of the West. That team has basically brought back the championship team from last year. They look good, and they just pulled a Franklin circumvents the cap move again. Whether or not they do it or not, we'll see. But I mean, with what is it? Stone's on LTIR, right?
Stone's on IR, and he's not on LTIR yet. Eichel's on LTIR, but Stone, they've not provided any timeline for return. They said it was week to week, which usually means over a month. So there's a very decent chance he gets elevated to LTIR, but as of right now, he's still just on IR.
Gotcha. Okay. So, I mean, with all things considered, they will have some, I mean, knowing Vegas, this is just what, like Aaron said before, like they're playing on be a GM mode. So they're going to use every single sort of trick and loophole to maximize their talent and win the cup. And on one hand, it's really annoying. And on the other hand, it's very respectable. Because we've been in a league for the last 10, 15 years, 20 years. I mean, you can go before that, where all GMs are just petrified to make trades. Like they either way overrate their team, or they care more about their jobs than making the team good. So they're just going to stand pat and hope that one of their, prospects turns into the next Austin Matthews or Pavel Datsuk or something like that. So it's I don't know. We even talked about it on the last episode, or one of the last episodes of the show. By the way, if you're just joining us, Dusty Bender Hockey Podcast, check us out YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Follow us on Twitter. We like to talk about all things hockey and loosely follow the Kraken here from time to time. I think that Vegas is just they haven't changed anything. You know, they basically brought everybody's coming back again. That's a solid team, healthy. At the deadline, they're poised to make a move and add a piece to make that team even better. They care about winning, man, and that's a good squad. I think that they're solid enough to do it from top to bottom. Whereas, I don't know, I'm not necessarily a believer in Vancouver. I think that they're having a great season. I will give them that, and it might even carry into the playoffs. But I don't know. Like, you look at the rumors of like Elias Pettersson right now. Like, people are starting to call the Vancouver Canucks about Elias Pettersson because he might know something we don't, because he is not re-signing.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, every as a fan, Vegas is how you want your team ran. Like,
yes.
you like, yeah, I want my team doing everything within the rules to give them an edge, like that. Like, that's like, to your point, there's no sentimentality. Like Marc-Andre Fleury, yeah, you won the Vezina. Okay, bye, thanks.
Yep, peace out.
Hit the bricks. Like,
yep, bye.
I mean, this isn't the final that I think is the most likely, but it's the one that I want because it would be the most chaos. I want Vancouver, Toronto, because I want to watch Canada light itself on fire.
A rematch of Boston and Vancouver would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be sweet.
But I just want a Canadian Civil War to break the cup drought between Toronto and Vancouver. A
Canadian Civil War, honestly.
It'd
be all of Canada versus Detroit, or it would be all of Canada versus Toronto, basically.
Yeah, and that's what I want to see because I want the chaos.
Yeah. Okay. So I could wrap my hand around that. I don't see that happening.
No, I don't. I don't think it's not the most likely, but the one I want.
Yeah. I mean, it's not to sound boring, but I mean, it definitely seems like it's never this way, right? We get one team that is really good, like, and that's what I'm thinking is like Vegas is going to be the favorite. They're going to come in, and plus their path to the Stanley Cup final is a bit like the East is a fucking dogfight, man. Like even a team, if you get the 1 seed in your division, you're going to be playing a pretty good wild card team. You know, like the Lightning are going to be no pushovers. The Red Wings are probably the easiest matchup that you could get, and that's still not nothing. Like, you're going to be playing Patrick Kane and Dylan Larkin and a very high-powered offense that I think Kane put it best after a recent win. He's like, with this locker room that we have the potential to beat any team in the league in a 7-game series. And I think that was a very well-worded thing that he said, like, because I agree with him to the letter of how he said that. Like, I do believe that with the potential that is there, the Red Wings could, on any given night, like win a 7-game series against he's like, we're not going to waste them, you know, but we have the potential to do it. So, and not to mention we're coming up on the deadline. It sounds like Yzerman is going to kind of double down and add to that team. So the Wings are not going to be pushovers. You might, maybe you're lucking out and you draw Philly. You know, that could definitely help. Sure. But that's pretty much the only one. If you're in, was it the Metro with the Leafs and everything, like that's
the Atlantic.
Oh, the Atlantic. Yeah. I mean, if you're a Toronto fan, I'm sorry, you're fucked. Like you're going to be playing Boston or Florida again. And like, it's just get ready for it. Like, we're not even at the deadline yet. And you know that you're going to be playing one of those guys. You're going to know for 4 months that you're going to play one of those two teams. And that's going to be tough. Like, you might be screwed again, just because of the draw that you've got. It's going to be very entertaining. Like, I would prefer them playing Boston in the first round because chaos. And I love when Leafs fans melt down, but, I mean, playing Florida again, like they've developed the we want Florida chants. Like that definitely has angered a lot of even people who don't like Leafs. Like they're like, oh yeah, you wanted Florida, fuck you.
I mean, yeah, but I would have wanted Florida too. The other option was the best team in the history of the NHL. Like,
right.
Sure. So
but also they're scared. Like, let's be honest. Like, Boston is Toronto's kryptonite. Like, they just can't beat them.
Yeah, but one of those teams was markedly better than the other, but like
Agreed.
to Jordan's other point, other point where he's like sleeper pick coming out of the West being the Avs. Again, when
MC Sandelli, is that am I reading that right? MC with the Canucks logo, 2-1 Tampa, 2-1 Tampa, New Jersey. New Jersey's heading on my stream. They're going to the power play, but I'm a little behind.
They're in the power play for a delay
gotcha.
game.
I'm a little behind on the stream. Tampa's up 2-1. Shots are 22-17 in favor of Tampa. Overall, watching this game as we kind of commentate, it seems like the momentum is definitely in Tampa's favor. Not like overtly like just one-sided, the ice is tilted, but it definitely seems like Tampa is the better team here.
So just to finish my thought on the Avs.
Go ahead.
So I think the issue that the Avs are going to have is they're kind of in the same boat of like an Edmonton or a Toronto. Like they need to make hay when McKinnon and Makar and Rantanen are on the ice. Because once you get into their depth scoring, like Johansson, he's picked it up a little bit lately, but like I don't know if there's enough outside of that top group to carry them on a deep playoff run against a team like you said, like Vegas or even like the Canucks, assuming the Canucks play the way the Canucks have played most of this year.
Right.
Like, I don't know. They're also a team they're not quite talked about in that way, but they're a very top heavy team.
Yes.
And if those top guys get shut down, right? Like we saw it last year against the Kraken, right? Like and obviously there were some suspensions and stuff in play or whatever, but like if you can stop Makar and you can stop McKinnon and you can stop Rantanen, if you can keep those guys like to not be superhuman, that team is pretty beatable. Like, so not that that's easy, but I want to believe in them, but I don't know if they've got the depth outside of the top guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to say a repeat of Vegas and Florida, which you know what, is not outside of the realm of possibility.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, it would be. And you know what? I think I recently had my mind changed about Boston. I was starting to think Boston was kind of like the powerhouse San Jose Sharks, where they always have a good team, but they're just not going to be able to cross the threshold. But I recently had some other historical perspective when we've been talking about the Columbus Blue Jackets recently, where, you know, Tampa got swept that one year and they just got super embarrassed, and everybody's like, oh, you know, that's their window. Like from now on, it's just going to be a slow, steady decline. And then they ended up winning 2 cups. Maybe that might be Boston here, where they got their asses handed to them. They woke up. It was kind of a fluky. I mean, not to take away from Florida, like they are very good, but we'll see. I think that it's not, especially if they play Toronto in the first round, they're definitely going to the second round. I know
they got rid of that bum Patrice Bergeron. Now they know how to win. You know,
right?
What I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what's going to happen.
They shot David Krejci into the sun, told Patrice Bergeron to hit the bricks, and now we've got culture.
We're joking a little bit about Bergeron, but honestly, I think Krejci going away is kind of probably for the best. Guy was getting long in the tooth, and
yes.
So, but Bergeron still had some jump to his game. So that one definitely, you know, was not great.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he won the fucking Selkies last year, right? Like
they're talking about renaming it after him.
I don't think they'll actually do that, but yes,
I don't think they will either. But like, there's definitely been rumor out there that they should rename it after him.
I mean, he redefined how that award gets talked about, right?
Yes,
like
absolutely.
So
absolutely. I would even, you know, as a Red Wings homer, like I think, like, you know, especially like Datsuk, you know, was one of the best two-way players in the game, even though he's only known for his hands.
What did he win? Did he win 3 Selkies?
Something like that. Yeah, he was incredible. Like the takeaways that he would get in the neutral zones were just, I mean, Datsuk could make even the simplest play look like absolute fucking amazing because his hands were so good. Like, even like Patrick Kane or something like that will be like, yeah, Datsuk is had the best hands in the game.
Yeah. He had 3 straight Selkie years.
Unreal. In any case, so I mean, it's easy. I'm fairly confident in my Vegas pick there. I think, and it's largely based on the return of the team and the path that they have to the final, like they're going to play somebody in the first round that's going to be an absolute walk. Like if they end up taking on St. Louis or the Kings, sorry, Kings and Blues fans, you're going to get fucking wrecked. Like, I'm sorry. It's just going to happen. Like, it's that whoever gets those 2 wild card draws are probably going to punch their ticket to the next round, because this year's wild card teams are just not good. Like, everybody in the West is just stumbling into it. The Blues don't necessarily really deserve to be in that playoff spot, but no one below them is making any sort of push. So, and LA is to me a fundamentally flawed team that has some good points, but in the playoffs it's not going to hold up. So I think your first round is, I'm not going to say a bye. Like even the lowest team has got a chance of winning any given night, but it's those 2 top teams in those divisions are going to probably make it to the second round, and then after that we'll see how it shakes out.
As of right now, Vegas's first round opponent would be the Oilers, which
really?
Vegas, yeah. So as of right now,
well, then it would be the opposite, where you get the hardest matchup first, and then you kind of walk after that.
Yeah, and the thing with teams in the West is they either have.
Plus, watching the. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah. But to add to this, like I think it'll kind of add to your point, like watching the Vegas Edmonton series from last year, like Vegas dominated that series. Like there was probably one game, the equivalent of one game where Edmonton was kind of in it. I think that series went to 6.
I believe it went to 6. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember watching it fairly loose. When the playoffs come on, I'll watch playoff hockey. It doesn't matter who the 2 teams are. I'll watch playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Watching it. And I remember watching those games fairly loosely, especially like at the TV at the gym.
Tampa just scored again.
Okay, I'm still behind.
Brandon Hagel.
Hagel.
Wide open net on Mr. Dragon Ball Z, Kara Schmid.
Fuck.
I still can't believe he's named after that. That's so funny.
Isn't that nuts?
That's one of my favorite facts about that dude.
I fucking love that. Hockey. When you learn more about hockey players, you're just like, what the fuck?
He's named after the creator of Dragon Ball Z, and he like leans down and gets on his knees in reference to the Phantom Menace. He's doing the Obi-Wan. Yeah, it was not a particularly great goal.
That was such a weak goal. Oh my god. Okay, putting the talk to bed on that. Like I don't know. I understand the Edmonton Oilers are kind of a different team this year, but also at the same time, the core is still the same. The premise is still the same. Get the puck to Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl, and let's have them power through. And I think Vegas is deep enough and well-rounded enough and experienced enough. God, what was Schmid doing there? Is well-rounded enough to beat Edmonton. So I don't believe in Edmonton. So that's just me.
The one thing that would be interesting, because the thing about Edmonton last year is Draisaitl was basically on one leg, and he was still just taking over games.
Oh yeah.
If Draisaitl is healthy, I think he turns it up in the playoffs enough that I think he might be able to get him over the hump. But obviously, that's dependent on if Draisaitl stays healthy. And
again, but it's you're talking depth here, man. Like
for sure, I get it.
The Connor Brown thing does not work for Edmonton. Like I don't think he scored a fucking goal. Like he's not.
He's getting that $3 million signing bonus.
Right. Exactly.
Get that game's played.
To me, it doesn't really. I mean, I know that they're kind of hitting a stride right now. It seems like I'm bashing on them, but I don't know. To me, the strategy to shut down the Edmonton Oilers is pretty straightforward. And
totally.
I think Vegas has the ability. Some teams can't. Like it's simple. Just shut down the greatest player in the world and arguably the second greatest player. I understand that that's a tall feat, but that is the strategy. And if you've got enough solid defense, we've seen it time and time again. Like it's you get a solid defensive player that just shadows those two guys, and if you can neutralize them, you will most likely win that hockey game.
Yep. No,
simple as that. And Vegas has got enough depth to where I think they can do it. Like it's the returning cast of Jonathan Marchessault and William Karlsson. I hear there's even rumors that Riley Smith might make a return.
I have heard
something like that to just for shits and giggles probably, and low risk move. But you've got Pertangelo, you've got Shea Theodore, like it's and Hill and Thompson it's a good team. it's a returning team that just won the Stanley Cup pretty handedly. So I like their odds. And in terms of the East, that one to me is the hardest one to predict. It could be a situation where I'd like to say it's whoever is at the top of the Atlantic at the end of the day. But that being said, maybe after the Atlantic teams are tired of beating the shit out of each other, they're just going to be so drained that whoever comes out of the Metro is going to be able to take. That's what happened to Vegas and Florida. Like, if we would have had a much more interesting Stanley Cup final last year if Florida wasn't just completely fucking drained by the time they got to the Stanley Cup final. But they were.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is the East is going to be, and has been for a few years, it's such a meat grinder. Like, that it's like, when the year the Avs won, right? Like, that Avs team, like, they played the Lightning on their third straight Cup final. Right. But the Lightning had just gone through like a meat grinder, and they just had nothing left in the tank, right? Yep. Like,
even the easiest, the easiest matchup to me in the East. Say, let's assume for a second we take the teams that are currently in the playoffs, that are currently there now. You're looking at, you want Philly as your number one, and that's the only way Philly's making the playoffs is if they grab that third Atlantic spot. They're not good enough to take one of the wild cards. Because the Atlantic teams are just so stacked. So you're hoping that you get Philly. That's probably the easiest. And then after that's probably the Red Wings, where they have their highs are highs and their lows are lows. So, kind of a schizophrenic team the Red Wings are. And then after that, fuck, man, all of your options are bad. Okay. Like, Carolina is arguably one of the deepest teams in the league with one of the best blue lines. And their goaltending, if healthy, is passable, acceptable, adequate. The Rangers are a fucking wagon. They're doing quite well right now, and they've got grit, which is awesome. That complements their goal scoring. It seems like Alexis Lafreniere is finally kind of coming into his own a little bit. You're looking at, Tampa's Tampa. Like, Tampa's been in it for the last 15 years. There's a reason for it. They've got great guys. And then not to mention the three teams in the Atlantic we just talked about. Florida's a fucking wagon. Boston's a fucking wagon. And Toronto, while I don't think is going to get out of the first round, is no pushover. So, it's the talent there is amazing.
Yeah, the best of those three options is probably going to have a 70 goal score on it.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's
like your best matchup is Philly, and it's still not great. You know what I mean?
Cooch can. Oh man, that was a nice move by Cooch. Yeah, like it's like out of the Atlantic, like the third best team is going to have a guy who's going to walk into 60 goals. Like, that's not, like, that sucks.
It's not good. Okay, going back into right now, Tampa's still up 3-1 for those who are just listening along. Tampa's up 3-1. Shots are 23-17 for the Tampa Bay Lightning. On my stream, they're still on the power play. With a minute 10 in. This has been a very almost Schmid at least knew where that puck was. It seems like Tampa's pretty much in control of this game. Unfortunate for Devils fans, where this is just kind of, it kind of shows that they just can't, they're not ready yet. We'll put it that way. At least from this game, Tampa is showing that they are the more experienced and ready team to make the playoffs. Whereas the Devils might still have a thing or two to learn. Ooh, that was a sweet little spinorama. It didn't do anything, but that was super cool.
Was that the Brat move?
Yeah. It was super cool, but it didn't do anything.
And the Devils shouldn't be in any rush, right? Like, Jack Hughes is 22.
Yeah.
Jesper Bratt's 25. Nico Hischier's 25. Like, the core of this group, like, Luke Hughes, he's 20, right? Like, the core of Simon Nemec, she's 20. Like, the core guys on this team, like, the window for the Devils is just opening. So I don't think it's not like a huge loss if they don't make the playoffs this year. Like, you can address the goaltending in the offseason or at the deadline or whatever. Like, you address the goaltending situation. You probably make a change in you probably make a coaching change, and you run it back with this group, and everyone's a year older, everyone's a year better, and like, the Devils are going to be fine. Like, the window for this team, it hasn't even opened yet. Like, they're ahead of schedule. So it's not, is what it is, but it should be fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, kind of cementing that, Donnell. We talked about the Islanders and the Devils quite a bit. Yes, right move. It's definitely too late for the Islanders. I'm writing them off, and kind of watching this game, I'm starting to get the vibe that the Devils are too little, too late. Injuries are not great. You can't really do anything about those, but you could have made moves that could have made kind of put you up, and they just didn't make them. I think if you trade for, let's say they get UC Soros, the best supposed available goaltender at the deadline right now. I think it's too late. I think maybe if they did this back in December or even January,
Mm-hmm.
that could have put them over the edge. But I think it's too little, too late. You're going to need assistance from a team above you to start losing. And speaking of, this is the team that's above you, and I'm not saying getting your fucking ass handed to you, but Tampa's definitely in control of this game.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting their backup right now. Like Vazzy's not even in.
Yeah.
So I can see that. Goza, man, 3 Kraken jerseys. So as I'll change my camera here a little bit. So I've got the reverse retro and my original home. Fun fact, this home jersey right here, picked that up in Spokane, Washington when they played their very first game. Everybody's like, oh no, their first game was Climate Pledge Arena. Nope. The very first time the Seattle Kraken took the ice as a team in their jerseys was in Spokane, Washington, in an exhibition game against the Vancouver Canucks. I was there. I bought my jersey there. Love that jersey. It even has the inaugural patch on it. While the reverse retro jerseys are cursed, I don't think the Kraken ever won a game in them. They are sick, and I love that jersey. And not to mention, I've got my Winter Classic Yamamoto jersey right here. So I definitely am with you. Donsko is an interesting choice.
Look, you take what you can get in the UK, man.
That's fair.
Like,
yeah, I get that, but no, I mean, talking jerseys, we haven't even brought we're loosely a Kraken podcast. Like I love the Kraken jerseys. Like I absolutely love them. They're some of the best in the league. Like, yeah, and I'm not even necessarily trying to be a homer on it. Like the Kraken color scheme, like they absolutely knocked it out of the park with.
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody was kind of like iffy on everybody accepts it now. Nobody's like Kraken's fucking dumb. Like no, I think everybody accepts it now. It's awesome. And the jersey and the color scheme is just incredible. Like they've done an amazing job with that. Even the S is great. These Winter Classic jerseys, I had to buy one. Like these are amazing. They're great. So definitely. Question about the Golden Knights gold jerseys being the home jersey. Should they have the gray jerseys on it as the home? Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. I personally, the gold, I've seen the gold in person. And I know that Vegas fans will fight tooth and nail to say that it's gold. It's actually gold. It's not mustard. And I understand that. And I've seen them in person and they are gold, but on TV they look mustard. And I'm going to see Vegas more often than not on TV. So I think that you should probably design your jerseys around TV. That's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I don't know. They're pretty like interchangeable to me. I don't have strong feelings one way or the other about them. Like
that being said, I do have a Marc-Andre Fleury gray Vegas jersey in my closet. So I don't hate them. We'll put it that way. But as I was a fan of the original gray jerseys, and I would probably try to stick with them. Do you guys know? It's hard to get the Devil Stadium Series jerseys, and it's very hard to find them sold out everywhere. Hope they make more batches of them soon. I did hear rumors about that on Twitter. That's very unfortunate, but it seems like we're. I think the deadline's passed. I think that we've We'll put it this way. I know we have a lot of jersey aficionados in the stream right now. Get your jerseys now because it looks like it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. Get them while you can before
very unfortunate. Yeah.
Yep.
Both my Kraken home and away jerseys I purchased from Hockey Authentic with the inaugural season. Hell yeah, that's awesome. The away jersey, I mean, it's hard to bash on teams like we'll put it this way. I will acknowledge good away jerseys. I will never bash a team for a bad away jersey because it's white. At the end of the day, what can you do? Like what you sit here and go like, who has the best away jersey in the league? Like the Krakens aren't terrible. Like they're not bad, but you can only do so much with a white jersey.
Yeah.
Maybe the Hawks. I guess I like the Hawks as a way. I guess they semi clever with white. I guess it's hard to sit here and be like, yeah, it's the away jersey is just so good. That's maybe a good discussion that'll kick up, like, who has the best away jersey in the league. Because off the top of my head, I couldn't really tell you.
Yeah. When did they switch to the home
90s.
team? The home team wearing the colored jerseys, because
late 90s.
It always trips me up whenever and I know it's been that way for a long time, but it's still just one of those things where I'm like, if you ask me, like, yeah, what does the home team wear? I would say white.
Well, in the WHL, it's all about selling tickets. So, like, in the WHL, they swap. They switch. Like, at one half of the year, they wear white at home, and the other half of the year, they wear colors at home. Which is, I guess, I get that from a fan perspective, so you can see all the jerseys. But
2004, okay, thanks. Yeah,
yeah.
I know it's been that way for a while. It's just one of those things in my head.
Gaza and Donnell, I know you're at work, but you guys are the jersey aficionados. What, in your opinion, what's the best away jersey in the league? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, because, again, like, they're all white. It's hard to have a personality with a white jersey.
Yep.
I'd be curious to hear your thoughts.
Cooch got the empty netter.
All right, it's over.
Yep.
Sorry, Devils fans. It pretty much looks like it's all she wrote.
Yep.
Again, it's not over. Barring the Lightning falling apart or something like that. Or Philly, and which they're not playing great hockey. But I mean, the Devils are currently playing 3-7 hockey, whereas the Flyers are playing 500 hockey. You need it to be the other way around. So yeah, this is a tough loss for Devils fans. This is going to be tough.
Yep.
Jared likes the Bruins away. Well, yeah, Jared, I think you're a little biased, but fair.
I like the Rangers away. I like the red, white, and blue shoulders with the Rangers diagonal. I think that's clean.
Away NHL. Yeah, Rangers is pretty solid. I like the Hawks. Okay, so I said the Hawks. As I look at the Hawks one, it's pretty good. Yeah, I like the Rangers. I like the Hawks. Ducks are just terrible, man. That's just awful.
Yeah,
so bad. I don't mind Florida. I hate the Florida crest. I wish it was the jumping panther again, but yeah. I guess I don't mind those.
I like the Blues. I can get down with those. I like the
credit to the Avs. They try to throw some color in there.
Yeah.
Philly's not bad. Lightning are dumb. Lightning is just dumb. The Canes. I love it. I love how they use different logos for it's.
Yeah, because they can't figure out what their
jersey situation is such a mess. Kudos to, and I know this is a hot take again, but I do like the Kachina away jerseys for them. Islanders are just, I'm still colorblind. For those who don't know, I thought the Islanders colors were purple and orange for most of my life, because I'm apparently partially colorblind. Red Wings, man, it's hard to beat the Wings.
I mean, you can get into like those those
classic.
Original
it's
6
iconic.
Teams, like
yeah,
the Habs are up there. The Habs are.
Yeah,
the Habs.
Kraken are good, man. The Kraken
are good.
Kraken away jerseys, like I'm trying really not to be a homer on this, but man, they look super good.
Yep,
they really do look good.
They did a great job until they named Dave Haxtell as the coach, and they had their expansion draft. But everything up until that point was great.
Yeah, the branding of the team has been a home run.
Yep.
We'll see. Haxtall's
right.
Sad part is I don't think he's.
No, he's not going anywhere. All right, that's it. 4-1.
That's it, folks.
4-1 final.
4-1. All right. Well, I mean that sucks for Devils fans, for Tampa fans. Like, congratulations. I think that's going to probably propel you into what is that? Let's leave off on a quick standings look. So with that win, Tampa's going to go to 69 points in 60 games.
Yep.
They'll move up to the wild card 1 spot temporarily. The Red Wings now have 3 games in hand until they play Chicago today, which will then 2. So technically Detroit could leapfrog Tampa again after today. The Devils are now 69 points. They're 7 points back on the Lightning and 6 points back on the Red Wings. And if the Red Wings beat the Hawks today, then they're 8 points behind. I'm more conservative about this. There are people that are probably already writing New Jersey off. I always like to, the rule of thumb is 10-point margin for me. If you are 10 points behind the lowest wild card, you are out. I have written you off. And that's usually like a good rule of thumb for me. But if you came up to me and said, no, New Jersey's done, that was probably the dagger to the heart. You're probably right.
Yeah, it's a tough game to lose. It's not, and to not get even a point.
Handedly. Yeah. Like that wasn't even a close game. Like that was like Tampa controlled play for most of it.
Yeah, your one goal went off a defenseman's skate on a Toffoli's twig, right? So like,
yeah, you're
really
only
had a tough time generating offense.
Your only hope at this point is to trip into a playoff spot if Philly just completely falls off the rails. And again, like they're not playing amazing hockey, but they're playing better hockey than you.
Yep.
Unfortunate. All right, folks. I think that's about it.
Cool.
Aaron, you got anything else you want to throw in there?
No, thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Absolutely. Guys, once again, we are Chance Watson and Aaron Larson with the Dusty Bender podcast. Please check us out. We are on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on all of the podcatchers. Follow us on Twitter. We're pretty active on there. We're also on Facebook. We very much appreciate doing these streams. We like doing one a week. And we love bullshitting and chatting with you guys. A lot of returning faces that we see in the chat. Happy to have you along with us. And we'll see you next time. We'll release a new episode of our show, the Dusty Bender podcast. Usually record on Thursdays, release on Fridays or Thursday night. So subscribe to us so you can get every episode, and we'll let you know when we have our next stream.
Cool.
Bye, everyone. Goodbye.